Baby. We alive. Light in microphone check. What's up, chat? I'd say you already know why we're here, but you probably don't already know why we're here. But to summarize, since the event's in like less than 4 minutes, there's a new handheld gaming console coming out. Technically handheld gaming PC. And this one is supposed to be way more powerful and more quiet than all the other ones. So it's basically going to be a big deal. So if you like the Steam Deck, you know, I probably should have put Steam Deck in the title. You know. But yeah, it's a new handheld gaming PC, and it's supposed to be the bee's knees. So we're watching the launch event to see what's up, basically, and see if it's lit. Can it play Steam games? Well, I mean, it'd be a pretty bad gaming PC if it couldn't play Steam games. But yeah, depending on how long the event is and how I'm feeling off the event, we might play something afterwards. Maybe some Breath of the Wild or something. We'll see how it goes. What's up, Marshall? I'm doing good. Ugh. Man, I am exhausted today. Looks like a bootleg Switch. Not every handheld device is a bootleg Switch, okay? This thing is way more powerful than a Switch. By far. Even if it doesn't look as cool as the Switch OLED. Early-less. Yep, it's 3 p.m. my time. It's got the same battery as the Steam Deck, but it's 1080p and 120 Hz. But it's got a more efficient chip, though. And there's a fly in my room. Fuck's sake. Have I seen the reviews for Tears of the Kingdom? No, actually. We could check it out after the event. I might play some Breath of the Wild. We'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling. You know, I'm way behind on Breath of the Wild, though, so I doubt I'm gonna get Tears of the Kingdom on launch. I'll probably play Breath of the Wild more on my own time. You know, because I don't want to pay full price for Tears of the Kingdom and then not finish it just like, well, what happened with Breath of the Wild? You know. How's the volume levels? Volume's good. Alright, cool. Starting in less than a minute. But yeah, this is gonna be a beast in terms of power, though. I mean, the GPD Win 4 that I've got is already pretty powerful compared to the Steam Deck. So this one's gonna be probably another level. The only reason I wouldn't get it is because the D-pad is looking a bit not ideal for 2D games. But we'll see what the reviews are saying. We need Kingdom Hearts and Legends Arceus screams. I don't have any of those games. You're in the middle of school stuff. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, let's see what we got.
When video games started becoming mainstream in the 80s, they were no longer confined to arcades and living
mainstream in the 80s.
Have been part of the gaming scene as long as
man, I wouldn't call it mainstream.
LCD-based portables.
It didn't get mainstream until the 2000s.
The early 90s. And as gaming has progressed, handhelds have progressed with it. But
maybe 90s, but 80s?
To their console and PC counterparts.
I mean, NES was kind of big, but still.
8 and 16-bit games brought some.
Okay, the Game Boy was huge. Okay.
To living rooms,
but there's levels to this shit.
And while handhelds of the time were a phenomenon with games like Tetris.
Man, I had a Game Boy Pocket, man. Black and white. Like, we used to game on that shit. Black and white, you know.
Sure, you could play Castlevania or a Street Fighter on the go, but they didn't quite live up to the standard.
Mainstream Pokemon Aliens kind of game. I actually like the old Pokemons. I haven't played all of them, but I've always wanted to beat the GBA, like the old school ones. It's just not something I would stream though, because there's a lot of grinding. It's more of a on my own time kind of thing.
Redefine their genre with 3D graphics and the full motion video. While handhelds of the time stuck with 2D alternatives to keep gamers happy on the go. Console and PC gaming.
Yeah, we used to get those handheld alternative games.
And first-person shooter embracing cinematic level of polish.
Prem doesn't play most video games. Well, most people don't play most video games. You know how many games come out every minute?
Always trail behind with compromises. Play the best games at home and settle for whatever you can get on the road. Today, some of the latest handheld feel underpowered. Still stuck at the low resolution like 720p.
720p. Oh, Steam Deck and Switch shots fired.
In 2023, elevating handheld into Full HD 1080p gaming visuals.
Okay.
Say hello to ROG Ally, a new type of handheld that can play the same AAA games in 1080p.
1080p, okay.
All your games on one device wherever you go.
All right.
With the ROG Ally, you are limited to one platform. If it works on Windows, you can run it on ROG Ally.
Okay.
You can play your favorite games from Steam, Epic, EA.
No one's playing games from Epic Game Store. We're not doing that.
Access your existing library anytime and pick up your cloud.
They got their little interface there. Okay.
The ROG Ally even comes with 3 months Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for free.
Okay. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate
offers different genres for you and your family. Hundreds of titles like Doom Eternal, Outer Wilds, and Hi-Fi Rush. You will always. The problem with these handhelds, they always cost an arm and a leg. Well, this one's gonna be cheaper than most of the other handhelds. Not sure whether a game is right for you.
Not as cheap as the Steam Deck though. That's next level.
Download it, launch it instantly with Xbox Cloud Gaming with no wait and no need to buy it upfront. You can even play your favorite mobile games.
Tears of the Kingdom is great, but doesn't fix any issues Prem has with the original. What issues did I have with the original, since you remember so well?
We want to show you everything that makes this device so special. So we are going to talk about how we engineer its ergonomic design.
The minimum resolution for you was always 1080p. You can't say always 1080p, unless you only started gaming recently. I remember the days when we used to game in 640 by 480 on PC.
It needs to melt with your hands.
800 by 600 them days.
We want you to feel like it was just built for you, with every button and thumbstick carefully placed for a precise control.
Okay.
So we developed countless different form factors, repeatedly going back to the drawing boards to imagine, iterate, and refine the final body. Once we found the right general design, it was time to really get down to business. We meticulously honed each component of the body for a comfortable, ergonomic feel.
Until 4K becomes the absolute norm, then I'm sticking with 1080p. Nah, you gotta experience 4K, man. You gotta 4K is next level. Weapon degradation, rain, you kept jumping on off stuff and dying because you didn't know you couldn't make Mario Odyssey jumps. Okay, I was thinking of platformer brain, I won't lie. What problem did I have with rain though? I don't remember a problem with rain.
for the face buttons to create more comfortable.
But yeah, weapon degradation was annoying. I'll give you that.
We even placed 2 extra pedals at the rear of the device, which can be mapped with in-game.
But I already paid for Breath of the Wild, so I'll beat that since I paid for it, and I'll see how I feel. If I get used to those issues that I had with it, then because I enjoyed the scope of it and like what was it called, the dungeons or the shrines, you know, the blue areas where you do the puzzles. I enjoyed that.
To ensure an ergonomic feat, the top of the chassis isn't completely flat. It has a subtle 2-degree slant to more comfortably contour to the.
You think this will kill Steam Deck? Actually, I saw a review from someone who got it earlier, who said that they basically, after using this, they have no reason to go back to the Steam Deck. So I mean, take from that what you will.
Keep the device secure. The engraved lines of the front secure the Ally in your hands while giving it a sleek look.
I'm just not sold on the D-pad though. The D-pad's a bit, you know, like 2D games look like they're gonna be a pain with that D-pad.
Each button is designed to survive more than 10 million presses, showing our commitment to ROG quality.
Like, didn't they learn from the 360 controller, that circular D-pad?
After all, you want to carry it with you everywhere you go. But it was a challenge.
Maybe I'm misremembering the rain thing.
Originally, our prototype.
If you can beat Breath of the Wild like you said, you try to get used to those things, maybe. Well, yeah, we'll see. You know, I'm not gonna rush and just buy Tears of the Kingdom because of the hype. I'm gonna see how I feel at Breath of the Wild first.
Portions of the top case. Then we switched to a lightweight aluminum to both display bezel and the battery.
All right, see you later, Jay.
Strengthening rigidity and bringing the total weight down to 600.
The biggest con of the deck for me is still the awful battery life.
Efforts,
yeah, battery life is going to be an issue for handhelds for a long time. Because they're trying to keep up with power. So they're going to be pushing power more than battery. Unless obviously you're playing old or 2D basic games. But if you're trying to play the latest shit at good frame rates and performance, expect the battery to be shit for now.
To showcase those sharper graphics. At 7 inches, the 1080p resolution provides an insane pixel density of 314 ppi,
okay,
providing a sharper image to all your games, movies, and streams. 120 Hz motion is smooth.
120 Hz? That's gonna be beautiful.
Plus, as a handheld device, you expect to be able to bring Ally with.
This guy just pulled the Ally out of his jacket.
That's why
man, you're gonna get jacked with that shit on the train.
For a true game anywhere experience, whether you are on the train, in the backyard.
The train, he just said the train. You're getting jacked on the train with that shit. Don't even go there.
Class Gorilla Glass Victus, which is ultra thin and scratch resistance. So no matter where your Ally is headed,
you throwing your keys on the shit? Oof.
From the bumps and knocks of everyday life.
I know they said it can handle it, but don't play with fire.
Also coated screen with DXC, increasing surface hardness and minimize fingerprints. Most impressively, DXC reduces the intensity of specular reflection, meaning your gameplay stays crisp and punchy even in the presence of direct lights. And with dual front-facing speakers,
okay,
and Dolby Atmos, you will feel surrounded by the lifelike audio every time you drop onto the battlefield. Now, we know you are dying to see what this machine can do.
Alright, let's see the performance. What frames are we getting?
For the top-tier graphics at ROG. And this time, we had some crucial benchmarks we wanted to hit. So
what are we
worked
heating?
Together with AMD to create silicon for the
yep,
ROG
the Ryzen Z1.
known as Ryzen Z1. And it is truly a special piece of silicon. The AMD Ryzen Z1 is built on a 4nm process, Zen 4 architecture, 6 cores, 12 threads,
okay,
and the latest RDNA 3 graphics on board.
Give us the frames.
Incredible performance with the base power efficiency.
If you can't hit Spider-Man at 60 FPS, then you fail.
Plus, you get the full support of AMD's excellent upscaling technology like FSR and RSR. This Ryzen Z1 chip
Trying RSR again?
other handheld on the market. 2017's leading handheld saw only 0.39 teraflops of graphic power.
Let's talk about the Switch, right? 2017.
2022 managed 1.6 teraflops.
And that's the Steam Deck, 2022.
Plays an entirely new trail
Woof.
of 2.8 teraflops
okay.
of graphic performance. We also worked with AMD on an even more powerful silicon.
Oh, the extreme version. Oh
which is
yeah.
capable of whooping fast 8.6 teraflops.
They got two models. I forgot about
ROG
that.
Ally closer to a home console than the
Oh, the extreme one gonna cost
The
though.
Z1 Extreme uses the same Zen 4 architecture
Oh.
with RDNA 3 graphics, but
the performance on that shit.
Its insane power
Oh.
makes it perfect for handhelds allowing
What's this?
AAA gaming.
Basically, it's the most powerful handheld gaming PC ever.
Handheld gaming was capable of 25 to 30 frames per second in AAA titles. The ROG Ally with Ryzen Z1 Extreme provides much smoother motion at 50 to 60 frames per second in those same titles. But with Full HD 1080p graphics, not 720p.
If it does Spider-Man at 1080-60,
that means your game looks sharper.
then that's a W.
Smoother motion. With performance like this, you can game anyway, anywhere, on your own.
You see that
with
fake
friends,
gaming on the
or
left
in
when they press it on the
competitive
buttons.
scenarios. When you are playing solo, you are giving yourself some me time with the latest story-driven single-player AAA games.
Okay.
Hogwarts Legacy, Cyberpunk 2077, or Death
Who says
Stranding
2077?
without
2077.
carrying case and Cetra wireless earbuds.
Ooh, wireless
You will be
earbuds.
able to take a break from the story and pick it back
They got
up.
headphones as well.
The Ally can do more.
Does it come with
than
all that
just
shit?
play. Connect the Ally to your TV and monitors.
Hey, ring game. Hey, ring game. Hey, ring game.
Go head to head in Street Fighters.
Marshall the $2.
Co-op
You
with
gotta
games
stream
like
AC Unity
Overcooked
one of these days. You
and
gotta
Movie
try it.
Maker.
Has the worst
To
story
make
and
this
main
easy,
character.
we offer
There's the
an
best
optional
parkour.
adapter
Best
that
parkour.
plugs into Ally's USB Type-C
Ugh.
port. Charging the
Over
device,
the Ezio
connecting
shit? I don't know.
HDMI display at the same
But I mean,
time.
I will play at some
Even
point.
has a USB Type-A ports for
I know the viewers don't care about AC that much,
mouse
but
and keyboard
I do want to go through all the
connectivity,
AC games at some
audio
point.
gaming, or competitive esports. In this setting, every bit of performance counts.
I was streaming
So
AC3, but I didn't
ROG
finish that
compatible
because
with extreme
AC3
mobile
was
suites
not
of
fun.
external GPUs. Dock your Ally at
But I
your
do want to
desk
get to Black Flag and
enjoy the
eventually
power
Unity.
of NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090 laptop GPU. for
I'm not
top-tier
docking my
performance
handheld to a
with
GPU though.
extra
I'm not doing all
ports,
that.
Keyboard, mouse, monitor, Ethernet, and more. Incredible performance isn't just about graphics.
We need Sony to get back into the handheld business.
Oh,
Oh, there's a heavy leak that Sony is dropping a handheld, but it's only cloud gaming. So it's gonna play PlayStation games, but cloud only. So, but they should have dropped the PlayStation 5 portable. That would have sold.
Allows you to expand your game libraries as much as you want without compromising those load times. The Ally LPDDR5 6400 memory keeps Ryzen APU fed with data at the moment's notice, letting
Alright, LPDDR5.
its best foot forwards.
Mm-hmm.
And with the latest Wi-Fi 6E technology on board, you will see more consistent download speeds, more reliable cloud gaming, and uninterrupted video streaming at 1080p. Just like ROG laptops, we give you complete control over this performance with our turbo.
They got a subtitle wrong there. They said
You
R
can
when it was
adjust TGP on
ROG.
fly to give yourself more game time.
So
With
Prem
active
getting
3
one.
hours available
I don't know,
on
man. The
modes,
performance is
4
great.
HDs. Turn it down to
But if the
silent
D-pad
mode,
is shit,
cloud
I'm gonna be
gaming video
annoyed.
consumption, and
'Cause,
your
like,
battery will last even longer, giving you up to 6
2D games are gonna be annoying on the D-pad.
even when you are away from the wall outlets. Now let's talk about the secret sauce. ROG Intelligent Cooling. Every device we build needs to deliver maximum performance while keeping it cool.
There's only two things I don't like about this
We need a
handheld. The
different
D-pad,
paradigm to build
and it just
ROG
doesn't
Ally.
look that
Since
nice
the
compared to like the
highlights behind
GPD
the
Win 4 that I
we have already
just
learned
made a
how
video
to
on
master
recently.
this type of cooling thanks to our experience with ROG Mothership and Flow Z13. The result is something we call our zero gravity thermal system, which, thanks to its quiet performance, also provides zero distraction from what's truly important, your game.
Another reason why I'd be tempted to
We call
not
zero
get it
gravity because
is because right now the handheld
use
space is
any
moving at
orientation.
lightning speed,
Sitting upright
and you
in
get
chair,
this thing,
lying down in your bed,
and then like the
however
start of
often
next year
you
there'll be
can,
some next
with
more
ROG
powerful
Ally,
thing,
you
and it's
can
just
do it
like,
all with no drop in performance.
how many am I gonna get? You know, I
locate
already
away
got a
from
Steam Deck
crucial
and a
components.
GPD Win 4.
We use a special kind of heat pump,
Although those serve different
providing extra
purposes.
friction to increase the
You know, the
capillary
GPD Win
force
4 is like a
in the
PSP
pipe,
kind of
keeping gravity
smaller
from
thing.
interfering with the fluid inside. We also put fluid bearing in the fans, which is quieter more durable, and create less friction when held in different type of orientations. The Ally's heatsink uses ultra-thin fins, as slim as 0.1 millimeters, which increases the total surface area by 10% for improved heat dissipation. And with dust filters on the intake vents, the inside of your device will stay cleaner and cooler. While typical handhelds uses a single fan, we knew that dual fan solution was going to provide more efficient.
Hey, ring gang. Hey, ring gang. Hey. Marshall with the $2.
While the right shows
Here,
the
watch
new
this. It's
dual
only
fan
50
system,
seconds.
keeping heat
Well, I mean, we're in the middle of a live
moisture
event, so it's gonna have to
Never
wait till
settle
after
for
the
anything
event.
less than
But
ROG intelligent
what is it?
cooling.
What is it about?
Finally, we would like to talk about our custom software that pushes the Ally to the next level. We have been developing
Yo, what's up,
for
Riley?
a long time. Not just ROG desktop and laptops, but even the ROG phones. With ROG Ally, we are proud
Handheld
to
gaming taking a
introduce
huge leap recently, but
Armory
seems to
Crate
only
SE,
appeal to people who
a
like
special
tech.
edition of Armory
Besides
Crate
the
designed
Switch,
to
I don't know
help
how
you
the
play
Steam Deck.
all your games.
The Steam Deck was designed with both casuals and pros in mind. That's why they have that deck verified system.
We have massive
Anything that's
libraries
deck verified just
spanning multiple
works.
publishers and platforms.
But the problem is a lot of
Freedom
PC games
choice
aren't deck
is
verified.
amazing, but it does split up your
But
collection.
consoles were designed to be easier for the casual. That's the thing. That's the thing that everyone likes about consoles. They're simple. So, honestly, if Sony made a proper handheld that played PS5 and backwards compatible games, they would be winning right now. Like, they could do Switch numbers, you know? But they're probably not going to do it anytime soon. They're probably waiting for the things to get better battery life and even more powerful, then they might do it. But when Sony do it, they're going to win. Because if Nintendo did it with their small amount of great exclusives, imagine what Sony's got. I mean, okay, Nintendo's got great exclusives, let's be real. But, you know.
Just open the profile for the games you want to customize.
A short parkour video of Unity. I've seen Unity parkour before. It looks sleek. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't played it yet, but I've seen it. You know.
It's not just buttons.
But better than Ezio Trilogy is a big statement. I mean, Ezio Trilogy wasn't the peak of Ubisoft parkour anyway, because the peak of Ubisoft parkour was Prince of Persia. But, you know.
The same goes to the buttons on the top.
Nintendo's in trouble if that happens. Nintendo will still sell. Nintendo will still sell because they got Mario Kart and Smash and, you know, Mario Kart, let's be real.
Customized haptic feedback built into the handles allow for incredible immersion.
You'd assume a handheld PC type system would have the casuals as the main demographic. Well, I mean, the thing is, right? They're all running Windows. The whole benefit of the handheld is that people that are already on PC, who've already got like hundreds of games on their Steam library, could just buy the handheld and they've already got games on it. That's the benefit of it. You know, whereas a console, you have to buy into the ecosystem. Like, Phil Spencer, the Xbox CEO or whatever, he was basically saying because they lost the Xbox One console generation to PS4, they're fucked now because all the PlayStation users have bought all these digital games on PlayStation. So now they don't want to move to Xbox on the next generation because like, well, all my back catalog that I paid for, I can't use it there, so I might as well stick with what I got. Whereas in the physical era, you could just be like, I'll just sell those games and get the Xbox versions. Digital, you're like, I'm locked in. So the handles are really targeting a lot of pros because it's like you've already built your library on Steam. You're like, okay, if I get this handle, I can play the exact same games I was playing on my desktop on the handle instead of a casual who's already got a Switch, who's got no games on a PC. He has to start from scratch, start buying games.
Against all sort of cyber threats. Windows Defender provides up-to-date antivirus protection.
Don't worry, Bradley, I'm multitasking.
Puts fans around your kids' screen time and web safety. We are incredibly proud of what we have accomplished with ROG Ally. Incredible performance, quiet operation, and a huge selection of games from multiple platforms.
It's extremely in depth and has a high learning curve. Makes the Ezio games parkour look pretty primitive in comparison.
We know you are all excited
well, we'll have to
hands
see,
on
innit?
this revolutionary device as soon as possible.
And you want to know the price? We are excited to announce that ROG Ally with a Ryzen Z1
Price reveal.
with 512 GB of storage will be coming soon to Best Buy.
$5.99.
$599.
That's not bad.
It will ship in Q3. The ROG Ally.
That's not
with
bad.
Ryzen Z1
But the extreme one, that's gonna be
comes with
expensive.
512 gig of storage will be available for $699 at
Six,
Best Buy in
ooh,
June.
$699.
Comes with 3 months of Xbox Game Pass.
And they got a terabyte model though.
Making this an even better deal.
They gotta have a terabyte model though, right?
Order this device today and team up with your ally as soon as possible. If you want to make an absolute most of your ROG Ally, it is compatible with every model of XG Mobile.
The fuck is XG Mobile?
Options. GC32 with AMD Radeon.
Oh, that's the
RX
docking.
6850
The
XT,
I think.
only $799. And
Yeah, we're not getting
GC33
that.
with NVIDIA GeForce RTX
We're not doing all that.
4090 laptop GPU for $1,999. And stick around because we will be joined by Microsoft and AMD in just a few moments to talk more about this incredible new device. Come on, let's go with me.
What was it, $699
You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
for the extreme model, and then $599 for the base model? $700. That's probably gonna be 700 quid. Although they gotta have a terabyte model though.
Thank you for joining me here. We've got Sean from Asus, Rowan from Xbox, and Frank from AMD. And you know, the first question I think everyone's wondering is, can the Ally handle crisis?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I sure hope so. This thing is a beast. We're going to talk all about it.
Lag.
You know, Sean, first and foremost, what were
Are we still going?
challenges with creating a device like this?
Yeah, so when we go through the survey with our focus group,
Lagged
the
out
number
for a
one thing
sec.
that they wanted is a balance.
OBS being annoying, of course.
Handheld devices. And the targeted weight was 600 grams because the current handheld devices in the market today are being too heavy. It's not something that they can engage for a very long period of time. So, you know, their game time, their phone time kind of...
Yeah, I need to
cut
see
down. It's
see
not
reviews
comfortable.
on the D-pad.
So,
That's what I'm
when we
worried
first
about. It's the
thought about
D-pad.
The design target for ROG Ally was really thinking about a device that can get into gamers' hands for hours of fun time. So weight was our number one thing.
Did I update my OBS?
Yeah, I kind of covered through
I always
how
update
we
my OBS.
took our engineering
I always
excellence
keep
to
that
drive
shit
the
tip
weight
top.
down. And then the second thing is about navigation. The navigation on the Ally, thinking about intuitive type of navigation experience.
Did they confirm this is coming to the UK, or is it like American order only? Because
keyboard and mouse and touch screen.
I want to know,
That's
like,
where it led to the end. We ended up implementing two ECs together, being able to run touch screen, keyboard, mouse, and the game controllers all on the same device in parallel. So those are the two things that we feel like was very proud of that what we have achieved.
they added everyone encoding.
Okay, so
Yeah, I
a
know
lot of
about that.
Devices run Linux or Android, but in this case, you chose Windows. Why
Windows,
is that?
of course.
Windows, look at them saying, of course.
Yeah.
Microsoft invested in their shit. You talk about, of course.
Android games,
That's why they got
currently
Game Pass
have
3
a lot of
months on that
devices. The
shit.
product that we launched last
Microsoft were like,
month,
yeah,
and
put Windows on that
services
bitch,
Android market.
okay?
But for gamers like myself, you know, in the last 5 to 10 years, I have a collection of games in different platforms. I have games in Steam, I have games in Epic, I have games in other platforms. When I think about a device that I would use for myself, I wanted to make sure the games that I already own.
Tears of the
could play
Kingdom
on
has a
this
96
handheld device.
Metascore.
And there's no brainer.
Man, it's
Windows
almost as high
is
as
the most inclusive
Damn
system,
and To Pimp a
for
Butterfly.
all the games. Everything that I own plays on
Actually,
Windows.
To Pimp a
Right
Butterfly
now,
was 97. I
there's,
think Damn was
game pads
95.
available for me to discover new games. And on the other side, as a hardware manufacturer, having the latest hardware driver supports in Windows is a huge thing for me. It's super convenient for hardware manufacturers to feel comfortable that the new technology, the new high-speed Wi-Fi, high-speed PCIe, you know, will be supported in Windows, and that's, you know, no-brainer. Windows is the choice to go.
Well, I've been using this for a little bit, and Windows does perform beautifully in this form.
They're
factor.
sucking off Windows a lot. We get it,
Gamers
okay?
can
It's not a
expect
Steam Deck. It
with
doesn't run
experience from
Linux.
Windows.
Yeah,
God.
and it's great
Stop
to
pretending like Windows is the
talk
greatest thing
about that
ever.
experience.
You know that we're stuck with
And
it
I think
because
we
everything
should
runs on it,
count on
okay?
the power of the PC gaming community to
Windows
really
7 was
really push
goated
the
though.
bar.
That
In
shit
terms of
was
things
that
we've
shit
been
was
hearing
goated.
and what we sort of see, familiarity is huge. Like, you can pick up this device and you instantly know how to use it. You don't have to figure out how to navigate and get things connected. You don't need to figure out how to pair controllers and other devices to it. You know, you don't have to figure out where you can go find your apps. Like, all of those things are just the same thing that you are used to from the history of how you've been using the PC products before. Innovation, I think, is another really big push that we get a
1
lot.
point away
Tons of
from
work goes
surpassing
into
Breath of the
actually
Wild.
tailoring and
Oh,
optimizing
so Breath of the
the
Wild was higher than
platform
Tears of the
operating
Kingdom on
system,
Metacritic.
to really make sure that you are getting the best performance and efficiency out of the experience. But I also look at things that we do too, like Auto HDR is a great example. You know, you have this huge catalog and history of games, and you love those games, and they now actually play better on new hardware because we can actually light up those colors. And this is all done without the developers having to touch anything in the code base from the games that they produced, you know, 5-10 years ago. And then I might just echo the openness. Like, to me, I think it's incredible that you can open this up and you have your Xbox app and all of your games and experiences there. You also have, you know, your Steam.
To be honest, I wasn't in love with Breath of the Wild. Really looking forward to see the improvements in Tears of the Kingdom. What didn't you like about Breath of the Wild?
You're acknowledging the fact that the player plays across a ton of different places in different form factors. I mean, that to me is great, and it's extensible. You know, I think Asus has done some great things. If you look at some of their command center investments, you look at the rest of the sort of applications that they put in there. It really lights up.
Game Pass is absolutely a huge part of the equation. How do you think gamers will make the most out of this service?
Yeah, absolutely. So Game Pass for us is, you know, it is the way that we are putting
This is just
a whole
waffling.
collection of
Well,
hundreds of titles.
they did it right. They did the main event first, where they gave you all the facts, and then they say the waffle until after. It's not like Jeff Keighley event, where they announce something for like 20 seconds, and then they waffle for like 10 minutes, and then they announce something else for like 20 seconds, and they waffle for like 20 minutes.
Games that are accessible, and we've put a lot of energy into those partnerships. And
So the
with
event
Game
is
Pass,
over
we've
then.
also
Bradley, if you want to leave, then leave.
EA Play
Okay?
membership.
It's
We have
been
a bunch of membership
20
only
minutes.
experiences.
We haven't even been here that long.
Legends are all kind of great examples of that. So to me, it's this blend of what you're really familiar with. You know, you can go pick up the device and instantly play Forza Horizon 5,
Ugh.
but then you get to discover all kinds of things that you wouldn't have otherwise maybe even thought about trying to play.
I wonder if
Sean and I
content
talked
creators got it early.
we started
Well, I mean, I know
with
some people
Mark,
have,
how
but
excited he was 'cause he's got
let me
5
check my
left.
sub box right
And he's
quick
like,
and
"Man,
see.
this game is incredible," and it only like got exposure and kind of became this big thing. I think partly because Game Pass gives you an opportunity to explore. in a way
Oh,
that
shit.
you wouldn't otherwise
Oh,
have.
shit.
Never would found.
Oh,
the
shit.
game
Yep.
in there.
The content creators have got it early.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the hardware side of things.
Oh.
RDNA 3.
Should we react to some reviews then?
Generational leap every single time.
What are you saying? We should react some reviews?
Well, thankfully we've been building.
Someone's already done one versus the Nintendo Switch, because we all know that gets views. Put Switch in the title.
Xboxes, PlayStations,
Alright.
desktop computers.
Let's
laptop
react to
gaming
some
computers,
reviews
and so many
instead
other-
of listening to them waffle. Okay? Mr. Who's the Boss is goated, so you know he's gonna give us the real shit. World's most powerful handheld versus Nintendo Switch. Might as well be
This is the ROG Ally. It's the fastest, the most extreme handheld console to ever exist. This is basically the device I dreamed of ever since I was 10 years old. And so, the big
You dreamed of this since you were 10 back in 06? Man, phew. Back when I was 10, I was too happy with my DS to be thinking about this shit. I'm just saying.
question on my mind is it good enough to actually just completely invalidate the traditional handheld consoles like the
I just realized they look kind of similar with the color scheme. It's like the Switch look like the baby brother now.
Nintendo Switch? Well, starting with the unboxing experience, the ROG Ally is packaged like a premium product, for sure. It's a thick, meaty box. The thing itself basically takes up the
Ainsley.
entire space inside of it. Underneath, there's not actually much. You basically get one side of the power adapter and the other side of the power adapter.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, and also a little cardboard stand hidden inside the lid. Now, Nintendo, on the other hand, tries a little less hard to come across as aggressively power-focused, and instead just tries making their packaging seem fun. It's very bright and colourful. This is the fourth time I've unboxed one of these OLED Switch models, and honestly, it still just feels exciting, like Christmas morning.
Merry Crisis.
I mean, it comes with a dock, which is
More
good.
inside the box too. So I'd side slightly with Nintendo for this point.
Let's see what points he's got here. He's got unboxing. He's got audio. Obviously, the ROG is going to win audio. The screen, Nintendo's probably going to win that because it's OLED. Then again, the ROG's got 120 Hz. Accessories. What does the Switch OLED come with? I don't even remember. Portability, obviously, the Switch is going to win that. Comfort, obviously, the ROG is going to win that. Controls, the ROG is going to win that. I mean, the Joy-Cons are mid. Operating system. Well, I mean, I guess the Switch has a simpler OS, which could be a positive, I guess. But then you have more freedom on Windows. Game library, obviously, ROG, that's Windows. You got more games. price is gonna go to Switch, performance is gonna go to ROG, graphics is gonna go to ROG, battery is gonna go to Switch. That's my predictions.
But the second you start using the ROG, there's two things you notice that frankly murder the Switch. Like audio. Time for the creepy ear microphone again. Seriously, did they have to make this feel like...
That's that ASMR shit that they be using when they be fucking doing shit with the ear thing.
Flesh. So the Switch has two little speaker outlets at the bottom, and they are actually better than they look. This is the new OLED model, and one of the main changes over the original Switch is the speaker improvement. However, you can just tell by the positioning of the ROG speakers that audio is a central part of the experience here. Listen to this. It's literally giving me goosebumps.
Oof.
So much higher volume for starters, probably 40% louder. And then while the Switch sounds like a decent set of phone speakers, this has a level of crispness and punchiness that sits solidly 2 tiers above that. And then, the screen. Now, considering that this Switch is still 720p resolution, which, I mean, it won't be long till there are toothbrushes with more pixels, it is actually quite...
My toothbrush actually has a screen. my electric toothbrush actually got a screen on it.
It's a nice screen. Not the original Switch. The LCD panel on that is... oh, not good. But this OLED version...
The OLED screen is beautiful.
Contrast,
beautiful.
Color saturation pumped up to the maximum, and slimmer borders, which to be honest look a little more even than the thick top and bottom that...
Yeah, these thick bezels. I don't know what it is of these people that they keep putting these thick bezels. The Steam Deck got thick ass bezels. This got thick ass bezels. The Switch OLED is very sleek design wise. Like, you know.
We've got on the ROG. This kind of aesthetic stuff, it matters to me. But you can't ignore the difference in the quality of the panel itself. This thing is 1080p resolution, which means it's more than 2 times the number of pixels. It runs at 120Hz refresh rate, which is insane for a handheld game console, and double the Switch. It peaks at around 500 nits of brightness, which is not close to top-end phones, but better than the 400 nits of this Switch. And then the icing on the cake is that it also does...
You really just put icing on the show. It was brand new.
all of this while being more color accurate.
Did he just... hold on. He's always doing these crazy
400
edits.
nits of this Switch. And then the icing on the cake is that it also
And then he
does
pulled
all of
ice.
this
Oh my gosh.
while being more color accurate. See, the Switch OLED ships out of the box with a vivid color mode on. I think Nintendo's done that to make sure that it feels differentiated from the original Switch's more muted colors. But if you actually want to play games in the way that developers intended, or, browse the internet in a way that doesn't make it feel like you're using a children's toy, then you'll actually want accurate colors. Which the Switch
I keep that shit
sort of
on
do,
vivid.
But even when you turn vivid mode off, it's not as accurate as this. So far that's 2 points to 1 point.
Okay, you gave the screen to ROG. I mean, I get it, 120 Hz, but the Switch OLED screen is beautiful.
Initial impressions are really strong. But then I tried to integrate both of these into my day-to-day life, and I started to notice some frictions. Like accessories. One of the things that I love to do when I get a new gadget is to find an ecosystem of accessories that allow me to make the most of it.
Well, obviously, Nintendo's gonna have a better ecosystem of accessories. The Switch has been around for years, and it's Nintendo. It's not Asus.
And to be fair, there are a few interesting bits and bobs that you can buy for the ROG, like the Ketra wireless earphones, which are both super low latency and have active noise cancellation. Yeah, musically speaking, these are not the best sounding earphones, but they're quite...
Man, we're gonna get copyright claims of this shit. Listen to this.
Purpose-built for gaming. The Raikiri Pro, which is basically a souped-up Xbox controller. It's definitely cool. There's custom...
Asus. That's how you say it. It's Asus. It's not Asus. It's not Among Us.
Customizable RGB lighting on the front. There's buttons all the way around, not just on the front. It's even got an OLED display that lets you load up your own animations. Which is dumb, but fun. And ROG has even made a gaming charger dock, which
It's not Asus.
actually mimics the functionality of the Nintendo Switch dock as closely as possible without getting sued for copyright. It can charge the Ally, like the dock, while charging an accessory, like the dock, while also giving you HDMI to be able to connect to a TV to play, like the dock. This is all
Asus.
great, don't get me wrong.
It's not Asus.
But just by the very nature of the Switch being a single piece of hardware that over 100 million people have bought, just naturally means that you're going to be able to find a lot more things that are specifically made for it. The types of cases you can get, the types of controllers, the car holders, the Switch cartridge cases, all the ridiculous...
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me see that shit. Hold
the types
on.
of controllers, the car holders, the Switch
You got the Game Boy cartridge holder. That's kind of sleek, though.
cartridge...
That's kind of slick, though. I mean, I stopped buying cartridges. I only got one cartridge that stays in the Switch, which I think is... I believe it's Mario Maker 2, which stays in my Switch. You know, After getting cartridges with the DS and losing a bunch of them, I realized that it was just better to go digital.
Cases, all the
You just say it like Asus. Asus. I mean, I guess you could say it that way, but I say Asus, man. I don't know. I think I just pressed a button and went back in time on my video. Hold on. Let me see. It's a Taiwanese company. So how do the people in Taiwan pronounce it? Like, how do they say it? Right? Like, because it don't matter. If it's from Taiwan, then we gotta say it like the Taiwanese, not like the Americans.
Asus.
Asus! Oh, that's American. Let's see what British people are saying.
Asus. Asus.
No.
Asus.
No, it's not Asus. It's Asus.
Asus.
Nah, Bradley, you're American. You should be on my side of this one. I'm sorry. You should be on my side. Look, I'm not. It's Asus.
Asus.
I'm not saying Asus.
Asus.
Because Asus would be like that. That's Asus. That's Asus. This is Asus. I'm not saying no Asus.
which is dumb, but fun. And ROG has even made a gaming charger dock, which effectively mimics the functionality of the Nintendo Switch dock as closely as possible without getting sued for copyright.
Asus sounds like an STI. No, it doesn't.
Right. It can charge the Ally.
Asus. I got Asus. No, it doesn't sound like it. No. It doesn't sound like
the dock, while charging an accessory, like the dock, while also giving you HDMI to be able to connect to a TV to play, like the dock. This is all great, don't get me wrong, but just by the very nature of the Switch being a single piece of hardware that over 100 million people have bought, just naturally means that you're going to be able to find a lot more things that are specifically made for it. The types of cases you can get, the types of controllers, the car holders, the Switch cartridge cases, all the ridiculous ways you can customize the look of it. And because this
I'm not gonna lie, the customization you can get for the Switch is goated. Because you can remove the mid-cons. It's beautiful. Look at this third-party shit I got on it. Also, have you guys seen that GameCube? Have you guys seen the GameCube Joy-Cons? I think there's 2 companies making them right now. I need to cop one of those, actually. Because they were looking kind of fly. I'm not gonna lie. Where is the shit? Yeah, look at this shit, man. Look at this GameCube Joy. That's kind of sleek. I'm not gonna lie. I might have to get one.
competition in the market for Switch
PREMulous. Man, are you in a hurry to be somewhere, really?
accessories, you can also just get a lot of them cheap. Whereas for a more niche product like this, you might get a couple of skins, you might find a carrying case online. I did actually find that the joystick covers you can use for the Nintendo Switch, they do work on this. But there's a difference between using stuff that can work and using stuff that's made for you.
Alright, so far it's 2-2. So, yeah, I think so far my predictions are correct.
And this is where I properly started to come to terms with the elephant in the room. Portability.
Of course.
Technically, both of these are portable. Both will fit in a...
This is probably the reason why Sony's doing a cloud version or a cloud handheld instead of doing a proper PS5 portable. Because they know it's going to be too bulky for the average person, right? Is my stream lagging? It says I'm not dropping frames. Okay, we're not lagging. Okay. Yeah, I was just saying, this is probably why Sony hasn't done a proper handle for like a PS5 portable. They're just doing a cloud version because it would probably be too bulky and battery life would be too shit for the casual market that they're trying to target. So they're probably waiting for the hardware to get good enough that they can make a PS5 portable that's like the size of a PSP. Maybe slightly bigger than that, let's be real. And then they can really market it as this is like, you can use this to play all your games. You wish cloud gaming was better than it actually is. Don't wish for better cloud gaming. Wish for better gaming hardware. Because cloud gaming is not the wave. We want better hardware so we don't need to game in the cloud.
rucksack or a suitcase, but I did not anticipate just how much of a chungus this ROG was going to be. The Switch takes up genuinely half the volume. And
Yeah,
the
of
fact
course.
that the controllers do just slip off like this does mean that if you really, really wanted to, you actually could fit all of this into your pockets. Yeah, that ain't really happening here. And this thickness, it also affects what it's like to use the Ally. The comfort. Because on one hand, the fact that the Switch is so slim and the controller's detachable, it does give it a slightly flimsy, rattly feeling to it. That is not the case here. I can't tell you how good it feels to finally have a nice, substantial, textured unit to just be able to wrap your hands around. The downside, though, is that it also means it's heavier. 608 grams versus 420.
420.
Nice. And when I first started using it, I didn't think that would matter. Considering the vast difference in volume, I was actually expecting it to be heavier than it is. But longer term, you start to notice something. That while the Switch is just light enough to be able to comfortably hold while you're standing, or lying in bed with it hanging over your face, with this, you're constantly finding a...
Do you guys actually really lie in bed and game? Like you like lie down like that and just be game? I don't do that shit. I've tried it before. Like, when I got the Steam Deck, it's just not for me. Like, unless I'm sitting up, I can't really game properly.
Searching for a surface to be able to lean on and take some of that weight off. Now, to be fair, I think the company knew this. That's why they basically chopped off the edges here and sloped the handles in so they don't dig into your palms. But the point is, it feels bulky, especially after an hour of playtime. Plus, I don't really like this rear button placement. They're not comfortable to press. You're kind of having to, like, dig into the back of the console. Besides, when my fingers are resting, I don't want buttons sitting right underneath them. And all of this stuff kind of adds up together to mean that when you go from this to actually just holding this in your hand.
Yo, what's up, Mars? I'm tempted to get this ROG Ally handheld. Also, I just RMA'd my Steam Deck. Man, what happened to your Steam Deck? They had to RMA it. Oh, the bumpers wore off. Shit. Yeah, the ROG Ally is looking slick, but I'm just not sold on the D-pad. Like, that's the only thing right now, aside from me not liking some of the aesthetical, choices. But I'm not sold on the D-pad yet, And I just got a GPD Win 4, so it's like more money. But they said it's coming Q3, so that's like July, August, September. I could save up by then, right? If it's not like a pre-order situation, I could save up by then and still get one. But I don't know, because if I get that, then like a few months later, then they announce an even more powerful handheld is coming, and then you're just left behind again.
You really appreciate just how clean feeling the Switch is. So for me, Nintendo is a bit of a no-brainer.
I don't know about that. Calling the Switch more comfortable than something that's actually designed to grip with your hands, like the Joy-Cons. I mean, if you got third-party Joy-Cons, that's different, because you could get ones that are bulkier that will fit your hands nicely. But with the Switch Joy-Cons, that thing has never been comfortable. I probably would never play the Switch if I couldn't switch out the Joy-Cons.
For comfort. However, there's a flip.
This thing's probably getting scalped to hell and back. That's a good point, actually. Like, let me see what the pre-orders are saying. Let me see, actually. Before the shit is gone. Let's see, UK. Let's go on the UK website. Yeah, £699. Released on June 13. It'll be launching worldwide through its website, so no matter where you are in the world, you can get your hands on the device. And it's available to pre-order now. There's no set release date for the standard version. Also, the extreme version is coming next month. Shit. The extreme version is coming like in a month and 2 days. But it's the standard version which is coming at the end of the year. So they want to rush people into buying the extreme version. Okay, it will be made available for Saint, as well as pre-order shipping out, which hopefully indicates that this device won't be facing the same stock issues. Let me see. Page, come on, proceed. Are the pre-orders up? Products, gaming handhelds, come on. Yeah, that's the extreme one there. Yeah, I don't think it's up. They said there'll be pre-orders, but it's definitely not up right now. Let me see. Curries. Coming soon. Notify me. Okay, I'll fill that in later. I'll keep an eye on it, okay? I don't want to get tempted by pre-orders and end up spending money, even though that's probably exactly what will happen.
Because the benefit of not having to squeeze
Switch 2, let's go. Gamer Guide, look, this device is probably going to be twice as powerful as the Switch 2. Maybe even 3 times. Okay, I don't know about 3 times. At least twice as powerful as the Switch 2.
every single button into this tiny chassis is that these controls are leagues ahead. The main complaint people have about Switch buttons is that they're small. They're still responsive, but they just feel sharp, clicky, and tight. And the analog sticks are probably the weakest area. They've made them shorter than more traditional console controllers, I guess so that you can slip it into your pocket.
What is this anyway? Like, you've never heard of Asus, Gamer Guy? Like, haven't you ever like looked at laptop brands and shit? They've been making like laptops and all sorts of shit. They're one of the biggest laptop manufacturers for like the powerful shit.
But the cost of that is you don't quite feel like you have as much control. They're just like little nubs. Oh, and also Joy-Con drift. Drift has been an issue ever since the first day the Nintendo Switch launched. It's basically the contact.
We need an Alienware gaming system. Didn't they have one that they didn't release? I swear they were working on that one that they never dropped, but they were like, yeah, this one. Let me see if I can get a quick picture. They literally were showing it at an event and it just never came out. And I think this one has slidable Joy-Con kind of things as well, so you could put in some third-party shit if you wanted. Or if they actually released it. You know, I was looking forward to this.
Point behind the joysticks isn't quite high quality enough, and so after a bit of use can just start detecting inputs even when you haven't made any. I mean, it does give you a great fallback excuse if you ever unexpectedly lose a game of Mario Kart, but it's bad enough that anyone who's remotely serious about gaming on this basically needs to shell out for an external controller.
Don't know about the D-pad on the ROG Ally, but it might be better than the deck. The Steam Deck's D-pad sucks balls at diagonal inputs. The fact of the matter is most D-pads aren't that good. If you want to be great at 2D games, you know, you have to like be on your serious D-pad shit. Like even the DualSense, I'm not trying to use that D-pad to play serious 2D games. I'd have to get something like an 8-bit though, which has got a great D-pad, you know. Especially after some of the levels that came out in Mario Maker, like they would put you on your toes.
Again, not here. There's a big difference between shoulder buttons that
People are just afraid of competing with Nintendo. That's why PlayStation only cooked the PSP, but the Vita failed. I mean, the Vita failed because they didn't give it enough attention. That's all it was, really. You know, the PSP got way more attention than the Vita. But we're getting to the era now where you don't have to put separate games on it now. So if they drop a PS5 portable, it just has to have the same library as the PS5, but just with less performance, but still playable, and people will buy it. It will be as simple as that. It's no longer, oh, it's going to get inferior versions of games or demakes or whatever. It's the same game. You still think the DualShock 4 has the best D-pad? Whatever? I don't know about that. The 8-bit though, this has got a way better D-pad than the DualShock 4. You know, if you're just talking about mainstream controllers, then I get it, but in terms of overall, the 8-bit though is where you gotta be.
that have a tiny bit of travel and almost feel like on-off buttons versus smooth console quality ones like this. All the buttons are just as responsive but softer at the same time. The joysticks glide with wide range of movement.
If the Vita dropped today, same concept with more powerful hardware it would have at the market. I mean, I didn't like how small the buttons were on the Vita though. Like, you know, they were doing that Switch shit where everything was tiny. I'm not saying a new PlayStation handle needs to be as big as like the Steam Deck, but definitely needs to have bigger buttons than the Switch. I feel like, you know, Nintendo are making their buttons for children clearly, but like Sony, they gotta do better.
And obviously also have RGB rings around them. They're a nice little customization touch and you can mess with the settings, but on a device where you actually do need every minute of battery that you can get, I will be turning off the second this video finishes. Now, that's not me saying that I think these controls are going to be completely free from issues. I have on a few occasions had the odd key press not register properly. I've had in some games it registering key presses that I'm definitely not making.
Look at the size of those buttons next to the Switch Joy-Cons. My god, those are some nice big face buttons.
The joysticks, while smooth, do feel a little floaty and not the most precise. And on 3 separate occasions, my X button has stayed down when I pressed it. It's a little worrying, because unlike with the Switch, where if the controller does go wrong, you can just kind of
slide it
swap it
out.
out for another one, you're kind of stuck with what you get here. But
the RGB rings around the stick is such a waste on battery life. But gamer, am I right? Yeah, I mean, at least they let you turn it off, so it's not the end of the world. But I'm kind of over the RGB thing. I used to love it. Like, my PC used to be... I was even looking at an old photo of my previous PC, which is proper geeked out in RGB. Now, I don't even care anymore. Maybe that's just me getting old.
they don't feel like structural issues that are going to cause a long-term problem, which still makes me lean slightly towards the ROG as the lesser of two evils when it
Did he say anything specific about the D-pad, or did he test any 2D games? I'm not hearing any D-pad critiques.
comes to controls. Okay, so just before we get to the games and the graphics, we need to talk about the single biggest difference between these two. The software. The fact that the Switch is running Nintendo's own operating system, and that the ROG Ally is a Windows device. And what this translates to is the Switch being this super polished experience, but one that's very controlled, and the ROG being pretty unrefined, but something that you can do.
Nintendo's taking notes of Switch 2, better have... Oh, the Switch 2 is going to be 4K. I mean, it's going to use trickery to get there, but it's going to be 4K. Anyone who thinks that the Switch isn't going to output 4K is joking. There's no way the Switch won't output 4K. Again, they're going to use tricks. It's not going to be the true native 4K experience. Maybe the menus will be, but like the gameplay is obviously going to be using tricks. But it will be outputting 4K. There is no way that the Switch only outputs 1080p. It's as simple as that. I'm talking about the Switch 2, not the Switch 1, obviously.
Do whatever you want with. Both can be great. Like, honestly, I love the fact that when I'm playing games on my Switch, it's such a thoughtless experience. You grab a cartridge, you slip it in, you open it, and often within 10 seconds your game is loaded. You don't need to think about anything else apart from just, what game do I want to play? But then with the ROG and basically any Windows gaming handheld, you're constantly being reminded that this is not what Windows was made for. You'll get these tiny fiddly menus that you can barely read, and I've been having to trot around at with my oversized fingers to interact with, and this is using the Steam interface, which is as optimized as it gets for gamepads like this. There's a sense of reassurance you get, knowing that whenever a game releases on Switch, it will have been designed to factor in the exact button layout that everyone has. So the developers would literally be testing their game on a Switch, thinking, okay, this action would probably...
Also, another convenience, recording gameplay on the go without a dock and a capture card for the ROG Ally. That's a good point, yeah. I mean, I guess you could do that with a laptop, to be fair, but yeah, I get what you mean.
be more comfortable for this button, and so on. But it's the other way around here. The Ally is designed around approximating an Xbox controller, which is what some PC game developers cater for alongside the main mouse and keyboard that they focus on. So you are very much an afterthought. When you launch a game and you select gamepad mode, it does, in some cases, automatically set up your controller for you. But then sometimes some of the buttons are just mapped in a really odd way. And in other times, games are actually convinced that you have a keyboard attached. I've lost count of the number of times something has told me to press the space bar to continue. Not to mention...
That's bad. That's bad. Because the GPD Win 4 has a slider on it to switch between keyboard mode and X input mode. So once you switch to X input mode, every game just recognizes it as an Xbox controller, which is nice and simple. So the Alienware handheld system got canceled for... I haven't heard shit from it, so I don't know what happened with that. You know, I guess it was a prototype and it just never went to market. But given the way the handheld market is booming now, they're probably going to come up with something at some point.
That PC versions of games in general tend to have less effort put into their optimization. There's less quality control than there is with console, because there's no one company at the top who's taking responsibility for it. Oh yeah, and then on top of all...
Yeah, Microsoft, like, if you really want Windows to be the number one, or I mean, it is the number one OS by default. But if you really want to hold that position, then you gotta, like, seriously just make some kind of handheld mode for these kind of PCs that we can just turn on. That's just simpler. I don't know. They gotta design that shit. Which is more powerful, GPD or... Definitely the ROG is more powerful because they got a new chip from AMD. Like, this is new shit. So that ROG Extreme is gonna be more powerful than the GPD. The GPD is like slightly more powerful than the Steam Deck. But the ROG is like way more powerful than the Steam Deck. Like, noticeably more powerful.
all of that, Windows is just not designed to suspend video games without consuming power. So ideally, when you're planning on putting this down for even like a day, you should be manually closing each game first to preserve battery, which, because the Switch is purpose-built for this exact job, it can do efficiently enough that you don't have to worry about it.
I don't know. Like, I always keep my Switch docked. Like, when I'm not using it. When I play it, it's in handheld mode. So when I press the power button, I put it in the dock. So I don't actually know how much it eats on standby. But with my DS though, like back in the day, I think it ate like a third of the battery when it was closed, which that still adds up over time. Like, you can't be too complacent with that shit.
Okay, so Windows is not without its issues, but it can also be a blessing, because it means that anything that your main computer can do, this can also do. You get a proper desktop-class browsing experience. You can use it to keep your photos on and show people a slideshow. You can lock it behind your fingerprint, since the power button here actually doubles as a fingerprint scanner.
Ooh, fingerprints. You don't have to sit there and type in a password on your handheld. I like that. Well, that's a point for ROG.
In fact, you can actually go further. Like, if I just stick one of these USB hubs into it, it becomes my computer. I can connect a keyboard and mouse. This HDMI goes straight to a monitor, and because when you plug the ROG in, it no longer has to worry about battery life, it can divert more power towards its chip and run even faster. So, while the Switch has more hardware flexibility with its limitlessly customizable accessories, this thing has more software flexibility. Now, I'm personally not going to do much of that. I use a laptop when I want to actually get stuff done, and I just want this to game. And so for me, this having Windows is more of a burden than an opportunity. But then on the other hand, if you were going to use this as your everything device, it can do a whole lot more.
So you gave it a tie on that one. I guess. I mean, Windows has got way more games you can play and way more things you can do. But the Switch ecosystem is simpler for the average person. I've missed most handheld gaming consoles when growing up until I finally got a job and stable income. Eastern Europe for the win. I mean, everyone missed out on something, right? I mean, I wanted an Xbox 360. I never got that shit. I never had a GameCube or a Wii or an NES or an SNES. You know. I actually did get quite a few handhelds though, but it was the home consoles I didn't get as much.
And of course, your operating system also affects which games you can play. And when I first started using this, I thought, this is a no-brainer. This thing can play proper, full, PC-quality titles. The same real, open-world, limitless, massive multiplayer games that are made for next-generation consoles on the go, and a basically bottomless library of them, since PC games have been being made since 1983. This is the dream, right?
Since 1983, so there was no PC game before. Well, I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
Plus, it can even emulate older console games. I mean, yeah, you can also emulate some games on the Switch, but it's not an ideal situation. Nintendo severely restricts what you can play and charges you stupid amounts to do it.
Charge you extra to play N64 games. Can't even play F-Zero X without paying them more money.
With the Ally, you can basically just download a piece of software called EmuDeck and play any console game right from the very beginning, all the way up to, ironically, the Nintendo Switch.
Wait, EmuDeck works on Windows? I thought that was just for the Steam Deck. I didn't realize that, actually. If EmuDeck works on other shit, then I might even... No, it says Steam OS. Yeah, I mean, let me see. EmuDeck Windows. Apparently you can. Alright, cool. Is this event still going?
Yep.
Oh, that's still going.
So, yeah, the triggers.
Ha.
We've got the bumper.
Alright.
Now, I don't personally play many retro games. I'm more of the opinion that games are continuously improving, and that anytime it seems like older games were better, that's nostalgia talking, and that within 5 minutes of playing those older games, you'll be reminded that they're not.
That's not entirely true. It depends on what genre of game you're playing, because you could argue platformers already hit peaks back in the day, but obviously certain other genres like first-person shooters would have evolved more. You know, I don't think it's fair to say that newer games are automatically better because they're newer, you know, graphically, obviously, but there's a lot of great games from the past. That's the exact reason why they spend so much time remaking old games. They're like, well, this game was already designed to be more fun, so let's just give it a fresh coat of paint and sell it to you again, you know.
But lots of people do like it, so it is a great perk to have. However, there are 3 important caveats to the game library on Windows.
Racing games in general have been stagnating after 2011. Man, Burnout Paradise was so good, and like they didn't make another one. I'm mad. Like, what the fuck? Like, Burnout Paradise was one of my favorite games ever, and they re-released it a million times. But where's the sequel? What, you know what I mean? Like, cause like you look at the size of like Burnout Paradise's map, and at the time it was like, oh my god, it's just like it's limitless. Now you got these bigger open world games. You can see how big these games are getting. And you're like, imagine a Burnout Paradise today with the size of games now. Like, they could do so much with it, but no. Need for Speed, Need for Speed, Need for Speed. Burnout Takedown is my... A lot of people prefer Burnout 3. I enjoyed Burnout 3, but Paradise was my shit, though. Like, Burnout 3 had the cool, like, the Showtime shit. I mean... Technically, Paradise had it as well, but Burnout 3's one was goated. But Paradise was just... You just put that shit on, you just drive for hours. You just get lost in that shit. It was different. I love that game, man. Oh, my God.
A, that you probably never go...
I've always been a Ridge Racer guy. I had Ridge Racer on DS and PSP. I used to go ham on Ridge Racer as well. Like, the drifting on the Ridge Racer was really fun, you know? But yeah, for me, like, racing games... Paradise was my favorite. That was my favorite ever. You know, nostalgia would be like Sega Rally. That was like on Dreamcast. I love that shit. But Burnout Paradise, that game, Burnout Stream would be fun. The only problem is Burnout Paradise is riddled with copyrighted music, and I'd have to turn it off just to stream the game, which I actually have streamed it before, but again, without the music, it is annoying.
Going to get Nintendo's first-party games. No Mario, no Smash, no Pokemon. Which for me, if I could only pick one of these...
What did he say?
Important caveats to the game library on Windows. A, that you're probably never going to get Nintendo's first-party games. No Mario, no Smash, no Pokemon.
Are you gonna pretend that we ain't gonna emulate that shit? Come on, Mr. Who's the Boy. You know we're gonna emulate the shit, okay? You know. Okay? We're getting all of this, okay? We're getting all of this.
Which for me, if I could only pick one of these two consoles, I would feel their absence. You could go down the emulation route, but that never normally works as smoothly as running a game made for a platform.
The platform is Switch. Yeah, I mean, people are running Breath of the Wild at high refresh rate now because of Wii U emulation, so I don't know. If it was PlayStation, maybe, but Switch?
B, that the games you do get instead are made with home PCs in mind. They're the kinds of games that are designed to either be played online, or failing that, update often, or check in online like every time you open them. And so let's say you're about to do a long stretch of traveling and you wanted this to be your gaming device.
Oh, this is an important point, because a lot of these PC games have online DRM because they expect you to be sitting at desktop. But this handhelds thing has made you realize I've taken my Steam Deck on a flight. And a lot of these games that require online DRM to play, you just can't boot them up when you're on the plane. You know, the offline mode doesn't always work unless it's just a Steam DRM game. If it's got like Uplay or Origin or these other shitty launchers that they force you to use, then you might have an issue just trying to boot something up.
You would actually have to prepare to make sure that the games you want to play...
Grid 2008 for Simcade Racer. And the Need for Speed games between Underground all the way to Hot Pursuit still hold up amazingly today, and I've dedicated modding communities. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is that racing games haven't been like progressing in a certain way. Speaking of which, there's a discount for Forza Horizon 5 on Steam for the next few days. I was considering getting it because I wanted to try Forza, but I don't know if I'll like it or not. Oh, what do you think, given that you've been playing a lot of these games?
They are actually available offline. And then the third part of this, which for me is the most devastating, is that most of these PC games are not designed with split screen or co-op in mind. PC gaming isn't really about sitting on the couch with friends and busting out some multiplayer. It tends to be, you're in your gaming cave, I'm in my gaming cave, let's play online together. But for me, the best part of gaming is this multiplayer. I want to be able to see the smile slowly disappear off my opponent's face as I beat them at something. And in that sense, it's just not close. The Switch and
Forza Horizon 5 is alright, but the progression is non-existent. When you say progression, you mean like what? Leveling up or what? The racing is fine, but it gets samey after a while and you're going through the motions. So what is the best racing game that's come out in the last 10 years, like since, I don't know, 2013.
So many of its games are designed to be multiplayer. You literally just slip off one of these for yourself, you hand the other to your friend, and you're playing together. So while it is absolutely wild that
Mario Kart 8. Oh, you know what I mean? Come on, you know what I mean? Like, you know, high graphic races, not kart races.
this allows
Not Crash Team Racing. I'm talking like regular racing games. Formula 1 2020. Depends if you're more of a car or just like the thrill of racing. A car guy. You mean like the brand of the cars or what? Like, I mean, I'm not like a car fanatic, but, you know, that's, I guess, what I liked about Burnout Paradise was that it wasn't too realistic in its mechanics. It was a bit wacky. I like that. Team Sonic Racing. Well, we made it an hour 10 minutes before someone mentioned Sonic, so that's a record. You know, that's a record. Wreckfest. Never heard of that. I guess I could look into that. Gran Turismo 7, I guess, but even that's smooth. I guess it's back to more Burnout Paradise then. If you get 4K, you better play with max graphics, even if your PC blows up. I mean, I got 4080, so I should be fine.
allows you to basically play Halo Infinite in the palms of your hands. Most of the gaming experience around the games themselves feels clunky for a handheld, and quite a solo endeavor. So overall, I would call the game libraries a draw.
A draw?
Quite a solo endeavor. So
No, that's cap. Come on, a draw. The Switch ain't even backwards compatible. There's no way that's a draw. Okay? Windows got a gaming library of like 4 decades. I mean, the main games you want to play are from like the last 10, 20 years, but still. Maybe 30 years, actually. But there's no way that's a draw. I mean, we all love Mario Kart. People love other things that the Switch has got, but there's no way that's a draw. Especially since the Switch is already being emulated, so there's no exclusive anymore. I can't call that that's not a draw. Come on, that's not a draw.
Game libraries, a draw. So the Ally is losing to the Switch right now, just like we're losing to Apple. We're on a mission to overtake the Apple YouTube channel in subscribers, and if we do, I will personally build the largest, most powerful iPhone on the planet. So the sub to the channel would be Ally, Ally, awesome.
Oh God.
I'm trying. But wait a second, why are we even making this comparison? The OLED Nintendo Switch is $300, the ROG Ally starts at $600, and this upper-end extreme model that I have here is $700. Is anyone actually picking between these two? Well, yeah, there is a price gap, but if you take a step back, you realize that it's not nearly as big as you think it is. My editors are going to have a field day with that. See, the reason why this is more expensive, aside from it obviously being higher end equipment, is that this hardware is what ROG is making their profit from. Once you buy this, the ROG company doesn't own you. You're just using yet another Windows device. You'll buy your games off Steam. You don't pay ROG.
Hey, bring in. Hey, bring in. She tacking out with the $5. My bad for mentioning the Blue Needle mouse. Consider this my recompense. Thank you for the support. I mean, we were going so long without hearing it. I was actually surprised. I was like, something's fishy here, you know. But it found its way in, you know. If they want to compete, it has to be $300. No, it's not going to be $300. Remember, these console manufacturers are selling their shit at a loss because they make the money back of software. But these handheld makers are not making their money back on software because the money's going to Steam when you buy games. Or Epic or whoever you buy your games from. So there's no way they're going to sell it that cheap. Especially since the Switch isn't that powerful. Like, you have to remember that as technology advances, technology gets cheaper. The Switch has been the same price since it came out. Right? Like, since 2015. I mean, obviously they made an OLED, so that would be the new one at that price point. But it's the same level of power, and the price has not gone down. So they're making more and more profit every year. So believe me, like, you know, $300 for a powerful handheld with great battery life is not happening anytime soon.
ROG, any kind of subscription cost, it's yours. But with Nintendo, because you're buying a closed system that has its own custom Nintendo operating system, you're essentially at Nintendo's service. They full well know this, and they'll often even actually make a loss on the consoles themselves so that they can then make it back later through their software. So the point is that...
But Nintendo aren't making a loss, they're making a profit. Sony and Microsoft are making losses on their shit though, because they push power more. I enjoy racing games from the PS2 era and early PS3 360 era a lot more. I thought maybe it was just me and my, you know, being out of the loop with racing games, that maybe that's why I prefer the older shit, but it seems like it might be a more common thing than I thought. The Series S is $300. Well, yeah, but again, they all sell at a loss. Microsoft is going to make a 30% commission every time you buy a game on their store. So if you buy a $60 game, well now it's $70, they're getting like $21. They're making money off of you after the sale, right? So it's different for them than some company that's just making the hardware and saying, buy the hardware from us and then go and buy the game from someone else, you know?
The actual upfront cost of each of these doesn't tell the full cost story. If you want to buy Mario Kart on a Nintendo Switch, $50. If you want to buy Zelda Breath of the Wild, $50. These games came out 6 years ago.
Facts.
But because it's Nintendo's platform and there's no competition between different storefronts, you pay what they want you to pay.
Exactly.
But if we look at top tier PC games from the same year, like Resident Evil 7, you'll probably pay $7.
Exactly.
Sniper Elite 4 is $5. Call of Duty World War II, which is as big of a name as you can get, is $19. I'd say that brand new PC games are about the same price as Nintendo, but it's just that they fall really quickly and you get more discounts. So if you're buying, let's say, even just 10 to 15 of the biggest games on each of these platforms, in that alone, you could be saving hundreds. And that's not even factoring in Game Pass, which is a subscription that you can get for Windows devices like this. And if you like dipping your toes into lots of different kinds of games, it means you don't even have to buy them. You can just rent them. And it is basically well considered to be the best value subscription deal in tech.
I can't wait until the next Switch model is not backwards compatible so they can port their games to the new system and charge $70 more each again. Yeah, I mean, it's the big question, right? Is the Switch 2 going to be backwards compatible? I feel like if they make it backwards compatible, more people will upgrade because they get to keep their libraries. If they don't, they're hoping that the Switch 2 hardware is enough to get people to jump ship, which is a risky move, you know? I think they'll keep it. I think they'll do what Sony did with the PS5. They'll make it backwards compatible, but they won't bump up the quality of the games. So they'll run at the same performance they did on the original Switch. But then they'll release remastered versions of the games that actually bump up the quality. So like you could play Spider-Man PS4 on your PS5, but it would be the PS4 version. And then if you want the actual remaster, you have to pay for Spider-Man Remastered, which actually gives it PS5 level graphics. So it might be like that. Like, you can play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on your Switch too, but it's going to run just like it did on the Switch. But if you get Mario Kart 8 Ultra Deluxe, you know, then it will run at 4K, and that will be the true experience. And then you have to pay for that.
Right now, the $700 Ally also comes with 512 gigs of storage versus 32 gigs on the Switch.
32 gig on the Switch. Like, the corners they cut to get these low prices, you got to realize that it sounds like a great deal, you know, but it's just an entry point. You know, these handheld PCs that, like, especially the ROG Ally, is fairly priced for what you're getting.
So you will probably have to pay to expand that, and then also you don't have to pay on this to play online. Whereas assuming that you want to play multiplayer on your Nintendo, you're basically resigning yourself to paying $4 a month for the rest of the time. So honestly, I think the costs of both devices even out over time. Right.
Even the PC's still cheaper overall, but
time to talk about performance. Now, you'd like to think, given what this is, that it's at least 5 times more powerful than the Switch. And, well, I've got good news for you. The Nintendo Switch is running a mobile chip made by NVIDIA, and it was powerful, but powerful for a mobile chip from 2015 when the chip was built. And it combines that with 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now this has 16 gigabytes of super fast RAM, and it combines that with an AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme chip. This is the creme de la creme of mobile gaming hardware. There is no close second. It's rated...
The Switch now has 64 gig if you got the OLED. Does it? I don't even remember. Let me check my Switch. Oh yeah, it's 64 gig. I don't really use the internal memory that much because there's not much of it. Games are way too big nowadays to even like 64 gig. It doesn't really mean shit. Like, I mean, 64 gig is like, if we go on Amazon right now, how much does a 64 gig micro SD card cost? Like £10, right? Versus a 256 gig that costs £23. So are they skimping on what, £13 to get you more storage? Obviously their storage is more expensive than a micro SD card, but I'm just saying, like, is it $20 they're saving to not give you a respectable amount of storage? You know, it's a very annoying corner to cut. I could understand in 2017, but nowadays, I don't know.
Are over 2 times more powerful than even the Steam Deck, and 21.5 times more than the Switch. It doesn't follow through to internet speed. The ROG connects more reliably and gets better speed when connected, which is actually amplified.
Doesn't the Switch not even have a browser like that it lets you use?
The fact that Nintendo just does not invest enough in their online servers. And so when you're actually trying to game online, even though it's a paid service, you can feel the lag. And as for what all of this power actually means for the graphics of the games themselves, well, actually, we can pull up the same game on both.
Oh, I knew they would use The Witcher. Like, The Witcher on Switch looks so horrible.
To test it. So, this is The Witcher 3. Originally made as a vast open world game for high-end machines, people were actually kind of shocked that they even made it run at all on the Switch, but here we are. You notice straight away the resolution difference, because while the ROG is perfectly happy at
The Witcher 3 on Switch looks like it's a PS3 title. Like, literally. Like a remastered PS3 game.
1080p, the Switch can't even play the game at the 720p resolution of its screen, so instead shoots for 540p, which makes it about a quarter of the resolution. Then you notice the frame rate. Now the ROG is definitely not chilling here. It's not easily running the game at like 120 frames per second.
Obviously not.
Something closer to 40 to 50, which still makes it smoother than the Switch's 30, but not like buttery smooth. But it's the game effect where it really separates itself. So this ROG is running the game at high settings with a couple of the nice to have extras like ray tracing turned off. And what makes that kind of crazy is that we're talking high settings for a proper PC, for a full-size tower and monitor, sit down at your desk and play kind of experience. And so I really don't...
So can you get 60 if you lower the settings? That's what I want to know. Because he's getting 45 right now, but he's got it on high settings. So he's pushing it, you know.
Want to understate that being able to hold that in your hands is, I mean, it feels wrong. It feels like it shouldn't be possible. When this works, and when you get a game where the control scheme adapts well, where the PC port...
It does feel wrong. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had that experience with the GPD Win 4, and since someone else already brought up Sonic, I guess I can bring up now. But playing Sonic Generations on a handheld, not the 3DS version, obviously the main version, on a handheld with a beautiful screen, at 60 FPS, 1080p, on a handheld, it's a surreal experience to see something that gorgeous graphically on a handheld and it runs smoothly. It's crazy. Like, your brain is not prepared for it. Especially when you grew up with a Game Boy. Like, a black and white screen Game Boy. Like, to play a full-blown console game in a handheld, and it's a different experience. Like, it's different. Like, the Steam Deck was cool, but it had a shit screen. So it wasn't the same. Okay, and the Switch has a beautiful OLED screen, obviously, but a lot of the games don't run as smoothly, and if they do, it's probably the weaker ones graphically. But yeah,
as well optimized, you feel like you are holding the future, and that's the feeling that this entire concept exists for. But it's just that there is so much baggage you have to deal with to get there, and nowhere is that more apparent than battery. So, both devices are set up. They're fully charged. It's around 9:30 in the morning. And one thing that you'll immediately notice is the difference in how much time you spend waiting for things to happen on this ROG. I booted up this exact same game yesterday, but it's still taking so much time to actually get into it. The battery is quite a lot bigger on this than on the Switch, but it's just...
Can I just say something that really fucking annoys me? Games, they've been doing this for so long, you would think that they would have stopped by now. The amount of logos they put in games when you boot them up, it's a fucking waste of time. No one's got time for that shit. See, when you get older, you start to realize where all the seconds are going. Games will have like 5 different logo pages. No one gives a fuck. I want to press play on the game and it gets me straight to the main menu. I don't have time to sit through every single logo of who made this game. I don't care. I don't need to see it the 10th time I've opened the game. Serious. Like, there's a mod for a game where it removes all of the starting logos, and you just press play on the game on the emulator, and it takes you straight to the main menu. And after seeing how quick it could be, it's just so annoying that all these other developers don't do that shit. Okay, no one needs to see the name of the engine every single time they boot the game. Like, we're done with that era. Okay, we are done. Okay, I'm not trying to boot up Windows 95 with these long ass boot times.
There is a vast difference between the power consumption of a mobile-based chip and a PC-based chip, whose original purpose didn't really need to factor in power consumption. So I'm not expecting this to...
How are you doing the battery test? How are you doing the battery test? And you put Mario Kart on the Switch, you're putting this photorealistic racer on the... How's that fair? Like, come on. Like, they're running Mario Kart. They're running Mario Kart on the right.
Didn't really need to factor in power consumption. So I'm not expecting this to go well for the Ally. And that's not even factoring in the fans. Normal PCs naturally have great airflow, but because this is such a compact...
Check Discord. What is this, Bradley? You better not be mid. $30 days? Fucking hell, Elon, what the fuck? 30 days? Shit, I gotta log into some accounts. 30 days inactive and they're gonna ban your shit. Man, I gotta log in.
Device, it has to create its own. And it does that with some very loud and quite energy inefficient fans. Oh, I appear to have managed to get myself stuck, which is actually kind of perfect. So let's just leave Mario Racing and my other car mounting a rock and see how long it takes for them to run out. And while that's going on, what about...
That is not... Come on, that is not fair. Like, come on. Like Mario Kart on the right... Anyway.
Rock and see how long it takes for them to run out. And while that's going on, what about your airflow? That's where the Ramview Ace 3 comes in. When I first came across this, I thought it was kind of funny, but
sponsorship.
Let me tell you, this is a serious bit of kit. It's essentially an air conditioner.
I'm guessing we're at the end of the video then.
The Ace, and it becomes an air conditioner. 10:55 a.m. and the ROG is gone. Just 1 hour 28 minutes after starting. And the Switch at this point is on 69%.
Well, yeah, because you put a fucking photorealistic racer on compared to Mario Kart.
It's almost like you planned that, Nintendo. I mean, for me personally, that is a deciding factor. I mean, sure, you could say, well, the Switch is only running Mario Kart. That was a proper PC title, but that is the entire point of the device. Now, you can force the chip to consume...
Well, yeah, but like... Yeah, I mean, yeah, but still, like, still... Right, I don't know.
Lower wattage and push up the battery all the way to about 4 hours. But that's only going to work if you wanted to also scale down the quality of the game you were playing on it, to the point where what you have would be no better looking than the Switch. This feeling that the ROG can give you, when everything just works, it is basically everything I've ever dreamed of since I was this tall. But unless you've really done your research and you're happy to put up with all the grievances that come with it, for an average user, I think...
I mean, there's no way this should be a tie, though. Like... Game Library should have gone to ROG, so that would have put it at a win anyway. Like, Game Library should have been an ROG win.
The traditional handheld is still the better option. Not to mention that the Switch is due an upgrade in the next couple of years, which should hopefully bridge a lot of the gap in terms of graphics, while also giving you the conveniences.
It's not gonna bridge the gap, come on. I mean, okay, the Switch 2 is gonna be more powerful, obviously. You know, it's not gonna bridge the gap, because if the Switch 2 comes out, I don't know, end of 2024, that's a year and a half from now, there's going to be a new generation of handheld GPUs, and it's going to be even more powerful, and you know, it's going to be left behind again.
Of a purpose-built gaming machine.
When are we getting that Arkham City stream? Man, that shit was copyright claiming on my shit. I can't play games for more than 2 hours these days. I mean, look, I'll be the first to admit that I got short attention span when it comes to this shit. Peaches, but Peach sings it to Mario, of course. Alright, who else have we got? Let me check my sub box. Who else is covering this right now? Oh, you got the tech chap. You got Super Saf. Let's look at the tech chap. I'm sure he'll give us some good D-pad opinions. See what the tech chap is saying. The Steam Deck 2 is arrived. Get that bread.
I'm Summer Tech Chap, and this is my new best friend. It's the ROG Ally, and I've taken this everywhere with me over the past couple of weeks, and I don't think I felt this excited about a new device since, well, last year with this, the Steam Deck. And for me, the ROG Ally is basically a Steam Deck 2. It's smaller, lighter, much faster.
Okay. Steam Deck 669 grams, ROG Ally 608, so it's lighter. From Zen 2 to Zen 4, from 800p 60 to 1080p 120. Okay. You watched the Mario movie the other day and that shit was mid. I mean, look, it was nice to look at. It just wasn't heavy on plot, that's all.
1080p 120Hz. And beyond the hardware upgrade, it's also running full-fat Windows 11 instead of Linux, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but it does mean we have easy access to almost all the games.
Show us the Spider-Man frame rates. Can it run Spider-Man at 60 FPS? That's the ultimate test of how powerful it is, because that game is tough to run.
And cloud streaming. This is not just a...
You kept calling the GPD the PSP2. Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Well, I didn't call it the PSP2. I kind of just called it the PSP.
Machine. I mean, you can technically install Windows on a Steam Deck and you can mod.
Can it run the GOAT at 120? Sonic Heroes is capped at 60 FPS, Bradley, so no.
And hack and sideload things. It's an incredible device, and I love the fact that we have touchpads as well on here, which we don't have on the ROG Ally, which I have found useful for RTS games. But this is also over a year old now, and it feels very much like the prototype to what is the final product. This is better in nearly every way, and the best bit is if we compare the top spec models of each, this is only like 30 quid more. It's a no-brainer. However, we do have to give Valve credit for actually kicking off this new category of handheld gaming PCs and also doing the heavy lifting with creating.
Well, they didn't really kick it off because GPD were doing their thing since 2016. Let's keep it a buck. GPD had a handheld before the Switch, so let's get that right.
Yeah, great on Steam Deck tab and also a really useful filter telling you just how optimized the game is for handheld. I don't have kids yet, but I feel like it's having two children that you love very much and equally, but you love one a bit more equally than the other.
A bit more, wow.
There's nothing wrong with that, right?
Wow.
And so firstly, a big thank you to Asus ROG for sending this out for me to have a play with. This is a pre-release device and we may see more updates before it fully launches, but I've been having a blast with the Ally, revisiting some old favorites like Grim Fandango. I've been streaming Forza Horizon 5 via the Xbox Cloud. I've been taking out a few targets in Hitman, embarrassing myself in Rocket League, replaying Spider-Man Remastered, and a whole lot more. And I love playing this when I'm traveling, during my lunch break. If I had a commute, I'm sure I'd play this on that as well, or even on the sofa in the evening while Mrs. Tech Chat watches yet another season of Love is Blind. And best of all, if you have the room to yourself, hook it up to your TV or monitor, grab a controller, and properly kick back with your own mini gaming setup.
What's the frames? 54 FPS. Okay. We're close to 60. We're close to 60.
But it's not all sunshine and puppies. I've had a few issues with this. There's been a bunch of games that simply don't work, like Apex, it actually boots up and then just crashes. F1 22 doesn't work, Rainbow Six Siege doesn't seem to launch,
What?
nor does Jedi Survivor, but then that doesn't really work well on anything at the moment. So I guess the first thing I would say is before you take the plunge and buy something like this, do your research, see if the game that you really want to play is actually going to work.
But how is it not working if it's running Windows? Was it incompatibility with the driver of the GPU?
I've also had a few random crashes.
Dumb question, but how do some games not work on these things if they're just handheld PCs? I'm baffled as well, right? It's a Windows machine. It should work. The Steam Deck is different because that's not running Windows, but this is running Windows, so it should work.
There's been a lot.
That being said, though, I had an issue with Sonic 3 Air where it wasn't showing up properly on my GPD Win 4. That's the only game that I had an issue with. I think it has something to do with the screen they use. I think it's like a portrait screen. I don't know. But Sonic 3 Air had an issue. That's the only game I ran on the GPD Win 4 that didn't run as it would on regular Windows. Probably Windows 11. I mean, if Sonic 3 Air had an issue with Windows 11, then someone should have mentioned it by now.
A lot of forced quitting in Task Manager. The thumbsticks feel a little bit unresponsive, particularly noticeable in faster-paced FPS games, and also the battery life is, well, variable. But we'll come back to that. So despite its flaws, I think Asus ROG have done the best job they can making a handheld Windows PC as user-friendly as possible, to the point where they try to keep you away from the desktop with the Ally launching straight into their Armory Crate app, which acts as a hub, bringing together your library and the different game stores, plus you have all your settings and customization options.
Okay.
Now for me, the vast majority of games I play are on Steam, so I am spending most of my time in Steam's big picture mode, so in some ways I do miss the simplicity and the lightweightness of a Linux device, but certainly you do have more flexibility and options with a Windows 11 tablet PC handheld thing. But one thing that I was worried about was the price. We were all worried this might end up being $800, $900.
Man, don't act like you was worried about the price. Okay, you got like 1.38 million subscribers. You can afford. Okay, you ain't worried about the price.
£100.
We were worried about the price.
But I'm very happy to report that the ROG Ally starts at $599. That's the same in pounds and dollars for the base model with the Z1 chip, 16 gigs RAM and 256 storage, but I wouldn't buy that. Actually, you can't even buy that for a few weeks because they're delaying that launch a little bit to prioritize this, the highest spec SKU, which is 100% the one you should buy. This for $100 more, so $699 or dollars.
So it seems like it's kind of like the Steam Deck, where they had that really, really cheap version that has, what, 64 gig storage? But you really shouldn't get the 64 gig storage version. It's just there to say, we hit this low price target. I think that's what they're doing with the ROG. It's like, the extreme one is really the main one, but we need to have one that's $100 cheaper so we can say, oh, it starts at $599. That's good, but in reality, you're getting the £700 shit.
It comes with the Z1 Extreme, 16 gigs of RAM, and also 512 storage. So a much.
Do these things have display delay when you connect them to a TV? They shouldn't. I mean, does your Switch have delay when you connect it to the TV? I don't know. It shouldn't have to. I haven't had any delay issues like that. AMD APU should be pretty good for compatibility. If anything, it should just be driver jank causing poor performance instead of just not running at all. It's probably a driver issue, yeah. What custom Joy-Cons do you use? Got my Switch and realized the Joy-Cons are small as fuck. Right now, I got the bin box. Let me see. I made a video on it. Yeah, this video here. These are the two that I got. There's also another one you could get. I prefer the bin box, but they're not as premium feeling, right? So there's another one I had before the bin box called the Hori Split Pad Pro, which is officially endorsed by Nintendo. So if you care about that kind of thing, then you could get this. The reason why I prefer the bin box is because you can actually use them outside of the Switch, you know, whereas this has to be connected to be used. But these have more premium feeling buttons, so, you know, do with that what you will.
For your chip, it's got 2 extra CPU cores and 3 times the number of compute units in the GPU, and also double the storage for just 100 more. And as I say, it's only like £30 more than the top spec Steam Deck, also with 512 storage.
So is there no 1 terabyte model then? They just didn't drop. I mean, I know it's got micro SD, but like this should have been a 1 terabyte model. Like people would buy that.
And so actually, it's not something I get to say very often, but I think they've nailed the pricing with this. I thought it was going to be a lot more expensive. And at the heart of the Ally is AMD's new Z1 Extreme chip, which is based off their Zen.
Like, I'm British, so I say Z. But when it comes to saying chip names, I can't say Z1. I'm going to say Z1. I don't know. It just doesn't sound right.
For architecture, and it's a whole lot faster than the Zen 2 chip that we have in the Steam Deck. How much faster?
Ooh, let me see the performance. So that's the Z1 versus Z1 Extreme. So the Z1 is the one in the base one. So you're only getting 25 FPS on Red Dead 2, but you get 47 on the Extreme. CSGO, I mean, that shit runs smooth anyway. GTA is only 5 FPS different. Company of Heroes is almost double the frame rate difference. Forza Horizon 4 goes from 83 FPS to 121. Shadow the Tomb Raider goes from 39 to 73. Dota 2 basically 2 FPS different. It depends on what you're playing, clearly, but it's looking like you really should just get the Extreme model.
faster than the Zen 2 chip that we have in the Steam Deck. How much faster? Well, I'm glad you asked. I tested a couple of games side by side, and starting with Red Dead 2 running at the same 720p resolution and the same low settings, this is still a very demanding game, the Steam Deck averages 47 FPS versus 72 on the Ally. That's a 53% uptick. But then in Hitman 3, again 720p, but this time with medium settings, the Ally was almost twice as quick, 59 versus 31 FPS.
The Steam Deck, the Steam Deck. Like, even if you were cool with it being weaker, you know, because it's a well-built system, but they cheaped out too much on the screen. The screen isn't good. That's the biggest problem with the Steam Deck, is that, because like the Switch OLED, like, and I'm someone who, I'm annoyed that Nintendo shit is so underpowered, especially when I'm playing it docked. Like when I'm streaming and I'm playing it docked, the Switch is underpowered. It annoys me. But when I'm playing in handheld mode with the OLED and I'm playing Mario Kart, the screen is so beautiful that I forget that it's an underpowered piece of shit in terms of, like, you know, power levels. Obviously, I love playing the Switch, but when you play an OLED, it just feels so good, right? And that's where the Steam Deck fucked up, because like it got to a point where, like, say like a game like Celeste, that's a easy to run game. I should want to play that and buy that on my PC because I got a handheld so I can play it on my Steam Deck. But because the screen was so shit on the Steam Deck, I'm like, I might as well just buy this on the Switch and play it on that because it's got the OLED. But now, if you get a handheld with a better screen, now you can just get it on PC.
That's huge, and at the same time, it runs noticeably cooler and quieter. So the Ally has 3 modes: Silent, Performance, and Turbo, which roughly translates to 12, 20, and 30 watts thereabouts. And you can see how it affects my frame rate, but I almost always play in Turbo mode, unless it's a much older or less demanding game. But then to answer your next question, how much faster is it plugged into the power compared to on battery? Well, actually, there isn't that much in it. Going back to No Man's Sky, there's no change in Silent mode.
Silent mode gets you 13 FPS on battery, 13 when plugged in. Performance mode raises it to 45 FPS on battery, 56 when plugged in. Turbo gets you to 61 on battery, 65 when plugged in. I don't mind the shit battery life because I'm mostly going to use this at home. I'm not one of these people that's going to be playing on the train and get his shit jacked. I'm not on that. But like, I hate when shit is loud. So if the turbo is too loud, then I'll drop it.
We're looking at a pretty...
Steam Deck in the trenches. I mean, all Valve have to do is put in the latest chip, make a better screen, or source a better screen, and they could just update the Steam Deck 2023 edition. Maybe at this point, I'll probably wait till 2024, see what everyone else does. Drop Steam Deck 2024 edition, better screen, more powerful chip. People will buy it. Okay, it's as simple as that. It's just that they just can't sit on their asses for 5 years as if it's a console. Like, oh, we'll sit with the same power for years. People only get away with that on consoles. They don't get away with that on PC. PC, there's no loyalty. This shit moves fast. You got a Valve Steam Deck, then GPD drops something more powerful, then you got a GPD, and then Asus show up with that ROG. It's like, I'm copying this Asus. Like, it's not like Nintendo until they drop the next Nintendo. Sony until they drop the next. No, we don't care.
And playable 13 FPS, although in performance mode it's 20% faster plugged in, although only 8% faster in turbo. But unlike most gaming laptops, we're not seeing a significant compromise with performance, particularly if you stick with turbo mode. Overall though, in terms of demanding AAA games, it's reasonably capable. Although my 3 main takeaways are you're never going to really hit that 120 FPS in these kinds of games, turbo mode offers a noticeable boost over performance, and also dropping to 720p is a great option for boosting your frame rate. And on a 7-inch screen like this, it's not the end of the world. We're still talking 210 ppi, which is basically the same as a Steam Deck and the Switch OLED anyway. I think on paper the Z1 Extreme should perform even better than the 50 to 100% boost that we're seeing compared to the Steam Deck, but then remember we do have full-fat Windows 11 running in the background, which is a lot more of a system hog than Linux. Quick tip actually for quickly closing a game or an app, you could long press this and open the task manager, or just do a simple 3-finger swipe up because you've got gestures with Windows, and then just tap the X button on the game you don't want. That I found is the fastest way of getting out of a game. Now, I've been using this for a couple of weeks now, but I think it was within like a day that I filled up that 512 storage. Now, you can expand it with a micro SD card, which I've got up here, same as the Steam Deck, although what's different here is this does support the faster UHS 2 standard of micro SDs, which is great and kind of important actually, because this does use much faster PCIe 4 internal storage compared to PCIe 3, so games will load and run a little bit quicker on this versus that, but then micro SDs are a bit slow. So ideally, you'd want to use a UHS 2 micro SD, but the problem with that is there just aren't that many available, and you'll rarely find one with more than 128 storage.
If you know the micro SD is slower, then there's got to be a terabyte model.
The good news is the internal SSD is actually upgradable, and it's pretty easy. Taking the back cover off, peel back this little black flap and you'll see the M2 SSD. Now it is a smaller and less common size versus your laptop and desktop.
It's like the Steam Deck one, the 2400 size.
But you can easily switch this out for a
Oh, that's probably why they didn't have a 1 terabyte. Even though 1 terabyte for that exists now.
1 or 2 terabyte SSD, and crucially, it won't void your warranty. I did ask Asus this specifically, although they said if an issue arises as a direct result of the upgrade, then it will void it. So that's the inside, but what about the outside? Well, front and center we have this 7-inch screen. Same size as the Steam Deck, albeit with slightly smaller bezels, but most importantly it's 1080p and 120Hz, versus 800p and 60Hz on the Steam Deck. Brightness tops out at a solid 500 nits, and it is an LCD touchscreen, which does look pretty good, but of course OLED would have been the dream. The viewing angles on this aren't particularly
It said IPS, right?
Brightness tops out at a solid 500 nits, and it is an LCD touchscreen, which does
Well, he said LCD made it sound like it was an IPS.
look pretty good, but of course OLED would have been the dream. The viewing angles on this aren't particularly great, brightness drops off quite quickly, and for a gaming display, the 7 millisecond response time isn't the fastest.
I mean, 7 millisecond response time, that's gotta be IPS, right? It's not TN. That's 7 milliseconds. I mean, I don't know.
Asus tell me it's simply a cost decision, and even a 60Hz OLED would make this a lot more expensive, and they simply don't have the vast economies of scale that Nintendo get to enjoy with their Switch OLED, so maybe next year. Let's talk about these controls, because flanking the screen we have these two
fast IPSs. One, yeah, I mean there are faster IPSs now, but I'm just saying that if they said it was 7 milliseconds, you would assume that it's not a TN, like at that low of a millisecond. But IPSs, you still see some that are like 7. I think mine is like 5.
thumbsticks, complete with Go Faster RGB, which I think does make it look and feel a little bit more premium, although you can turn all that off if you prefer, and it will save a little bit of battery as well. We also have a D-pad, we have 4 buttons, and
see, the reason why I don't want to rush into buying this, aside from the D-pad things, AMD has now thrown their hat into the handheld ring, because by making that Z1 chip and that Z1 Extreme, they're basically saying we are making handheld chips now. Before, people were just using mobile chips and putting it in the handhelds, but they're now making dedicated handheld GPU or APU chips. So how long before some other company comes and uses the same Z1 chip in a better designed product, you know?
an Xbox layout. I think a backlight for these would have been nice. You've got your standard shoulder triggers and also 2 extra buttons on the back. And then we've got these guys. Bottom left brings up the command center for all your quick settings, and you're going to use this a lot. And also a long press of this is equivalent to a Control-Alt-Delete. Bottom right opens the armory crate, top right is for your in-game or in-app menus, and top left doesn't really do that much at all right now. In the armory crate it switches between the list view and the title view, but that seems to be about it. Perhaps we'll add more functionality later. Then up top we have a headphone jack, micro SD slot, the volume rocker power button, and USB-C for charging and also outputting to a TV or monitor. And it's also part of their proprietary XG mobile connector. So if you want to pair this with an external GPU...
Doesn't OLED have like 0.1 millisecond? I don't know about that. I have to look into that. But I don't think OLED is like... I don't know. I actually haven't checked.
Up to a ludicrous 4090. I dare say you get a fair amount of bottlenecking from the CPU with that setup, but it's still an exciting idea if you have a couple of grand burning a hole in your pocket. Now, side by side with the Steam Deck, and actually I was really curious in person how much smaller the Ally would feel compared to this. It's a similar overall thickness, but the Ally is a good deal lighter, around 61 grams lighter, and also a fair bit shorter. You can see the difference there, which makes the Ally feel substantially more compact overall. Still not exactly pocketable, you're not going to put this in your jeans, but it is smaller and a bit less offensive to whip it out on the bus or at a coffee shop.
You guys be having balls to be whipping these things out on public transport. Like, people be snatching shit. You don't understand. People will snatch your shit on the London Underground and run off. Like, it's no joke. Okay? Like...
Now we do have these couple events at the back there, as you can see, but it's a bit more for aesthetics. It's actually these top fans that push out the vast majority of the air, and when you are gaming, you can feel the heat coming out there, and I recorded about 45 degrees Celsius, which isn't the end of the world. The good news, though, is it is expelling most of that hot air, and the rest of the device stayed pretty cool even during longer gaming sessions, and so it never became uncomfortable, and I didn't get the dreaded sweaty palms. And in performance and turbo mode, the fan is definitely noticeable, but it's no louder than your typical Windows laptop, and I never felt it was particularly distracting or annoying. We also have a pair of front-firing speakers, which easily overpower that fan noise and actually offer a really solid and surprisingly bassy sound. Although mostly I've been using this with
it would have been nice to hear a fan test, but okay.
A pair of ROG Sentra wireless earphones. One criticism I do have is the thumbsticks actually are surprisingly unresponsive. There's a little bit of dead zone.
Yeah, we've heard multiple people complain about the thumbsticks.
And in first-person shooters or fast-paced games, they just feel a bit slow, like there's a good amount of input lag there. Hopefully it's something they can fix. I mean, this is a pre-launch model, but right now it does make FPS games a bit unplayable on the device. What does solve the issue, though, is if you just pair it with a controller. It doesn't have to be one of their fancy ROG ones, it could just be
That's not really solving the issue, that's a workaround. I mean, it's a handheld device, you know.
Regular Xbox controller, but that makes all the difference.
What do you do if this thing drifts? You're fucked, innit? I mean, I guess you could replace it, but, you know. You don't really want that to happen.
Those faster paced games. And finally, let's talk about battery life, because an hour of Red Dead 2 at 1080p with low settings in turbo mode used 80% of the battery. So in the worst case scenario, we're looking at about an hour 15. Although I did enjoy 3 hours of Grim Fandango from a full charge, and if you're running emulated games, then I think 4 hours is just about achievable. So it all depends on the game you're playing, whether you're running at 720p or 1080p, and also the power mode you're using. So the ROG Ally is certainly not perfect. Windows 11 is quite clunky, I've had quite a few crashes, and I've had to sort of force close applications. Not all games I actually want to play do run on this, although that should improve over time. This hasn't actually been launched yet, so we will see further updates. The thumbsticks, the latency is a bit of an issue right now. Also, the viewing angles on the LCD screen aren't fantastic. I also miss the Steam Deck's touchpads, and the battery life is still a bit rough. So there's definitely room for improvement. But even though this is a first-gen device for Asus ROG, it actually feels more like a second generation as it stands on the shoulders of the excellent Steam Deck. I think the key thing to keep in mind is this isn't going to replace your PS5 or your proper desktop gaming PC. Sure, it can play Red Dead on low at 720p and get 60 FPS or so, but that's not really how I want to play that game. I think the Ally, like the Steam Deck, is best for revisiting older, indie, emulated games, or even streaming with Xbox Cloud or GeForce Now.
I'm not
but
streaming.
For $699 for this top-spec Z1 Extreme version, I think it's a steal, and if you go in with the right expectations, you're not going to be disappointed. But what do you reckon? Are you going to pick one of these up? Do you already have a Steam Deck? And maybe are you thinking about upgrading? If you did enjoy this video, a like and subscribe would be amazing. And I'll see you next time right here on the Tech Chat.
You couldn't pay me to play Red Dead 2 for an hour. I mean, I had fun playing Red Dead 2, but I haven't finished it. RGT 85's got one. The Dave 2D. Oh, ETA Prime's got one as well. Okay, we'll watch one more, because I know people are going to get bored. We'll watch one more. We'll watch ETA Prime.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's ETA Prime back here again. Today I'm super excited because we've got our hands on the
Yeah, because he's going to do the performance shit. He's going to do the performance shit, so we'll see how it runs.
Asus ROG Ally. And I'll tell you, yeah, this is definitely going to change the handheld game. This thing is absolutely amazing, from the screen to the...
Animated wallpaper. Man, clearly you're... clearly the battery life's not a concern for you. You're out here animating your wallpaper.
Just the overall form factor and all of the built-in features. I personally really love the new Ally, and the one we're going to be taking a look at in this video has the Z1 Extreme. So this is the highest end model that they offer right now. And the price on this officially is $699, so it's not much more than the highest end Steam Deck, and for $699 you're getting quite a handheld gaming PC here. 7-inch 120Hz FreeSync display, an 8-core 16-thread Zen 4 CPU, and RDNA 3 graphics. This makes for a very potent little gaming handheld, and we've got a lot to go over in this video. I will have more on the way. I've got a full emulation video in the works already. We're going to do a lot of testing, some comparison videos between the Steam Deck and the Ally, but first and foremost for this video, the overall form factor. Like I mentioned, I've had this for about 7 days, and it is a very comfortable handheld to hang on to. Coming in at 608 grams, which makes it one of the lighter handhelds on the market. And the first time I pulled this out of the box, I got a little confused. I thought it might be just kind of a demo unit with nothing inside of it, because it is really light compared to the other handhelds that we've taken a look at on the channel. And personally, I really like the overall aesthetic that they've come up with here for the ROG Ally. Up top here, we've got our power button / fingerprint sensor, so we can log in really quickly to Windows. We've also got a volume rocker, a couple status LEDs, a micro SD card slot, and a 3.5mm audio jack. And of course, up top here, we've got this odd looking port. This is a proprietary Asus port known as an XG mobile port. This supports their XG eGPU line and
I don't really care about that
unit, or connect it to an external display. And by the way, I mean, to connect it to an external display, you don't need their XG dock or anything like that. You can go right over USB Type-C. I'm trying to get my hands on one of these XG mobile docks. Round back
D-pad
layout, and to tell you the truth, I wasn't too keen on this D-pad given that it's not separated, but it's actually much better than it looks. I will be testing it out in this video.
Much better than it looks, but that doesn't mean good, right? Because these circular D-pads, you know, but he said he's going to test it out in the video. Let's see what games he's playing in the video. Forza, Skyrim, Cyberpunk, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Warframe, Red Dead, COD. Okay, indie game. Okay, he's got some D-pad shit in there. He's got Street Fighter. Oh yeah, we're gonna see.
Around back, we've got 2 extra remappable buttons, and this does have analog triggers, which really helps out for racing games. Overall, really liking the controller setup.
It's really going on in the animated wallpapers.
Definitely works out great for PC gaming and emulation. Let's go ahead and get the specs out of the way. So for the CPU, or the APU rather, this is using the brand new AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme. We've got 8 Zen 4 cores and 16 threads. This utilizes a 12CU RDNA 3 Radeon iGPU up to 2700 MHz, 16 GB of LPDDR5 RAM running at 6400 MHz, and from the BIOS, we've got 4 GB dedicated to that iGPU.
Okay, so it is FreeSync. That's good. It's FreeSync. So if you can't hit the 120 Hz, you're still going to be straight, basically.
GPU. It's got a 512 GB 2230 NVMe. It's PCIe 4.0, and you can always upgrade this if you want to. But one of the main things that sets this apart from other handhelds on the market is the display. Now, I've been saying it for a while. We need adaptive sync or FreeSync on these AMD-powered handhelds, and we have it here. This is a 7-inch 120Hz IPS at 1920 by 1080. It supports adaptive sync and FreeSync, 100% sRGB, up to 500 nits of brightness.
Okay.
FreeSync or adaptive sync comes in really handy if you want to run at a lower wattage.
The Sonic? I see. I was reading the specs, so I don't even know what you're talking about. Where's the Sonic? Yeah, I didn't see it. Bradley's eye was obviously out for that.
Need adaptive sync or FreeSync on these
Oh, of course.
AMD-powered handhelds, and we have it here. This is a 7-inch 120Hz IPS at 1920 by 1080. It supports adaptive sync and FreeSync, 100% sRGB, up to 500 nits of brightness. FreeSync or adaptive sync comes in...
I'm actually had this whole screen with all these specs, this beautiful new handheld, animated wallpaper, and the one thing that you saw was this. That one thing over there.
Really handy if you want to run at a lower wattage to save battery life, and we'll take a look at that.
That guy has Cyberpunk installed. He must be crazy. Cyberpunk runs really well. It's not brand new when it was buggy. You see, they actually patched their games after release. You know, let me not go into a tangent.
But we have not seen a display that looks this good or performs this well on a handheld yet. But another thing that's really important for these handhelds is the audio system, and they haven't skimped out. Now we've got 2 1-watt speakers, and that might not sound like much, but it's got an adaptive audio amp, and it supports Dolby Atmos, and this thing actually puts out some bass. The first time I booted up a game on it, I was about 50% volume, and I was really impressed by how clear and loud these speakers are. We've also got Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.2, a 40 watt-hour battery with 65 watt PD quick charging. It does come with a 65 watt power supply in the box. It weighs only 608 grams, and of course, we're running Windows, and that's one of the main things a lot of people were kind of worried about, having a Windows handheld after we've been messing around with the Steam Deck using their awesome SteamOS 3. But Asus has really come through with software to allow us to easily navigate Windows, but the main claim to fame here is Armoury Crate SE. We can press the Armoury Crate button at any time. It's going to bring it up for us. We've got our game library, and this will automatically scan our directories, be it on internal storage or micro SD. We've also got a couple views that we can mess around with. So this is going to be the default view. We've got a list view if you're into this. But one of the best things here is each one of these games can be fully customized. So we can have custom profiles for each one of these games.
I've seen that does that, yeah.
Change everything we need to. We can remap the controller, change the sensitivity on the analog joysticks and analog triggers. We can change
Bradley
the RGB,
says the
how the
goals.
haptics react.
Yes,
Of course,
Bradley,
choose a
you
power
can run
profile
Sonic
for the
Heroes on the
Ryzen
ROG
series,
Ally.
or you can manually create one. And we'll go over that in just a little while, but let's move over to the settings section in Armoury Crate SE. From here, we can totally configure the handheld to our liking. We can change the RGB, disable Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, also change the overall performance profile. And something we haven't taken a look at yet is the command center. We can edit all of our options over here, but at any time.
So, control mode, operating mode, game profiles, keyword, real-time monitor, FPS limiter, resolution, frame rate, RSR. And you got the turbo mode. So that's if you want to pick like how much battery life you want versus performance versus like loudness.
And if we press this left-hand button, it'll bring up our command center. This is great for when you're in-game or basically any time at all, because we can change everything we need to directly from the command center. Controller mode can be swapped from desktop to controller, and in desktop mode, we can use the analog sticks and buttons as kind of a mouse and cursor. You can also bring up your custom game profiles from here. We've got a performance overlay that can be brought up at any time. You can bring up the keyboard, limit the FPS, change the resolution, change the refresh rate, your RGB. You can enable RSR, which is Radeon Super Resolution. I mean, they've thought of basically everything here for the command center, and I know more will be added in the future. Heading back over to the settings section in Armoury Crate SE. RGB. Now, some people might not be into this. Personally, I think it looks really good, what they've done here, but we can...
The RGB looks good. Definitely not wasting my battery on it, though. If it's plugged in, I might use it.
Customize this if you don't like the rainbow effect. You can change the brightness, you can change the speed, you can customize your color profile.
You can lower the quality and frames of the wallpaper. Everything's adjustable. Yeah, but it's still an animated wallpaper on a device that has shit battery life already. I don't even do that shit on my phone. Right, let alone this handheld device. I don't know.
Files if you want to. We've got a few different presets that we can mess around with. Now, personally, I'm not into a lot of RGB on my main gaming PC, but having it here around the analog sticks on this handheld really does set it off, and the fact that we can fully customize this is pretty awesome. Overall, I think Armoury Crate SE is turning out to be really great for this little handheld, and more options will be added in the future. It's still a bit early, but from here we've got an update center, so we can update all of our drivers and everything like that. You can sign in with your Asus account and download some pretty cool wallpapers. There's also a little game platform section. Right now we've got Xbox, EA, Steam, Epic, Uplay, and GOG. Obviously, there's more on the market. You can just head over to the website, but from here, it just gives us kind of easy access to download that game platform.
I like their little interface. I mean, it's still Windows, but it's a decent attempt.
And install it directly on the device. But one of the main sections here that's going to come in really important is the operation mode section. This is basically our performance profiles that we can set up for the APU to send more wattage or less wattage to that CPU and GPU.
Makes
First one here
sense.
is the Windows controlled mode. Next up, we've got the silent mode, which is 9 watts.
Let me see Windows controlled.
Windows controlled mode. Next up, we've got the silent mode, which...
So limits CPU and GPU power, but keeps noise levels super quiet, even turning off the fan entirely for 0 dB workloads on 2021 models on layout. Okay.
Is 9 watts. And this is great for 2D games, indie games, and a lot of emulators will run fine in silent mode.
So when you're on that Project 64 type wave, you know, or you're playing that indie shit, and you put it on the silent mode and get more battery and quieter performance.
The next one here is performance mode, and this is their 15-watt mode, but remember, we've got a little boost on that up to 20. Moving over to turbo mode. When you're on battery, turbo mode is 25 watts. When you're plugged in, it's 30 watts. This is going to be a really good mode for gaming, but remember, battery life will suffer at those higher wattages. And finally, we've got manual mode. from here, we can go from 7 watts up to 30 watts on battery. We can also adjust the fan curve to our liking, and we can independently adjust both fans we have built into the handheld.
Imagine if this was out and people get to run Zelda Tears of the Kingdom at 1080p, 60 FPS tomorrow. Well, I mean, that's a good question.
All right, guys. So
that's a good question, actually. Let me see. I know Breath of the Wild runs at 60 FPS on PC, but that's using Simu. Let me see.
Hello and welcome to our channel.
Yeah, people are getting 60 FPS on Switch emulator for Breath of the Wild. So, yeah, 49, 50, 53. Yeah. Oh, that's 60 on the Wii U version. Okay, no. The Switch versions are still capped, it appears. Oh, no, here they've raised the frame. Okay, no, here it's gone to 44. What's the conclusion?
If you are interested in knowing all the settings used to record this video, just check the video description.
Oh yeah, so there's a 60 FPS mod for Switch. Yeah, and he's running on a 970. Man, like a 970. That's old. Because I'm on a 4080. Before that I had a 3080. Before that I had a 1080 Ti. And before that I had a 980 Ti. And even that 980 Ti is more powerful than this 970. Not to dunk on this guy's setup, but just to say that if this guy is still just about hitting 60 on Breath of the Wild on Switch emulator, then my rig would destroy 60. I mean, like, it's not even that hard to run now that I think about it. So yeah, Tears of the Kingdom will run at 60 FPS on Switch emulator. It's most likely going to happen.
You can set up several different profiles here, and one kind of sweet spot
AI YouTuber, oh yeah, definitely sounds like an AI generated voice.
that I've been messing around with is just 18 watts, kind of locked right there at 18. It does offer some really great performance and battery life, but that's not all we have here because the Asus ROG Ally actually does have a dock mode. Like I mentioned, on battery, turbo mode is 25 watts, plugged in is 30, but with manual mode, plugged in, we can go all the way up to 35 watts, and we've actually got a boost up to around 40 watts. So this is going to offer the best performance that this handheld can put out in manual mode. And the best thing about this is, you know, when we're plugged in, we don't have to worry about battery life, so we can take it all the way up. Plus, we can adjust that fan curve. So yeah, I mean, if you want to get the most out of this in dock mode, this is definitely the way to go. And the last thing I wanted to talk about here before we get into some game testing is Radeon Super Resolution, RS.
I don't think I'm even going to use the performance mode, to be honest. Because there's the performance mode, and there's the turbo, which is the higher level. So, realistically, if you're playing anything current, you're going to put the shit on turbo. And if you're playing something old, you're just going to put it on silent. That's it. No in between. No one cares about the middle.
We can actually enable this from our command center, but it also has to be enabled per game inside of the Radeon software, at least at the time of making this video. Basically, with this enabled, using borderless window mode, our game is going to run at 720p, but Super Resolution is going to upscale it to 1080. So it's only putting the stress on this APU that a 720p game would, but we've still got a really crisp picture because Super Resolution is taking it up for us. And I will do a full video talking about this because it will help out a lot of people when trying to run games at a lower TDP, but you still want to get a really good looking picture.
Okay.
Okay, so before we take a look at anything else, I did want to show you a little bit of gameplay here. We've got Forza Horizon 5, and I've got Afterburner up in the top left-hand corner.
84 FPS. 84 FPS on Forza Horizon. That's not bad.
We've got our GPU, CPU usage, and clocks. Plus, we've got CPU package power, which right now is at 15 watts, and total system draw from the battery.
Hey, ring gang. Hey, ring gang. She tucking now with the $2. I got a dip, but are you playing Breath of the Wild 2 tomorrow? I haven't even bought it yet. I haven't finished regular Breath of the Wild. And now that Tears of the Kingdom is out, people aren't going to want to watch me stream the old one because they're like, well, the new one's out, we're watching that. So I don't know, I'll probably just play Breath of the Wild on my own time. And if I beat it and people still want to see me stream Tears of the Kingdom and I want to, then at that point I could be like, yeah, let's do that. But yeah, I missed the day one hype. I still haven't finished Breath of the Wild yet, so it is what it is. But I'll see what people are saying with Tears of the Kingdom. I might go into some people's streams and see what they're saying about the game. They're probably gonna love it, but you know.
Which is sitting at 27 watts. That's about the maximum the Steam Deck draws from its battery. Remember, that's everything on the device right now. Screen, speakers, and I'm at 100% brightness. Forza Horizon 5, medium settings, 1080p. We can get an average of around 81 FPS.
Medium set, okay.
Really great performance, being only at 15 watts, but of course we can get a lot more out of it. And remember, with the preset power profiles, performance is 15 watts, got a boost up to 20, and turbo is going to take us up to 25 with a boost up to 30. So let's go ahead and see what we can get out of this in turbo mode. The only thing I've done here is set that power profile.
So now he's gone into the
An
100s.
average of 101 FPS out of this game.
On Forza Horizon 5, he's hitting over 100 FPS.
You might have noticed that our total system power draw from the battery has jumped up to around 41 watts, which is going to give us a little under an hour of battery life.
Yeah, under hour, yeah. So I probably kept that shit at 60. Yeah, I probably kept that shit at 60.
In that turbo mode with a game like this. But there's one last thing I wanted to test here. I wanted to see if we could take advantage of that 120 hertz display with this game. And yeah, I mean, we can in turbo mode at 720p. Pretty crazy running Forza Horizon 5 at 120 FPS on a handheld.
On a handheld, man. Oh my god, on a handheld. My god, like, oh my god, like, man. We used to race like this on the handheld, man. We used to race like this on the handheld, man. Like that was the handheld that we used to race on. Like, and now you're telling me that we can like we came from this to this in the hand, like, man. That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
And speaking of 120 FPS, here's OG Skyrim low settings performance mode. This game will run at high 60 FPS in performance mode.
Skyrim Battle Run, that's just old as fuck.
60 up to 120, and it's totally possible.
Look how old Skyrim is, man.
Check it
no
out,
graphics
Cyberpunk
modes.
2077, 15 watts, 1080p, low settings. We're right there on the edge of running at a constant 60 with this one at 15 watts, but it just needs
Ooh, 15 watts is still getting around
a
60.
little more. If you wanted to set it up, I'd say 18 watts would be great with VSync locked at 60 FPS with this game here, low settings. But remember, we're only in performance mode. And of course, with a little more wattage thrown at the Z1 Extreme, we can get a lot more out of this game. Same exact settings, 1080p, low settings, but we're using turbo mode here.
I guess you could still use performance mode. I mean, you wouldn't get the smoothest experience compared to turbo, but your battery would last longer. You know.
Now we can get an average of 74 FPS. And remember, with all of the games that I'm testing here, I will have that frame rate unlocked. Locking it at 60 in turbo mode will lower the total system power consumption because we do need to run it up to go over that 60 FPS mark. Spider-Man Miles Morales actually runs really well on this device. We're at 1080p, low settings, and FSR is set to performance. Looks great like
and FSR, yeah, this game tough to run. FSR, but he's passing 60 with it, which is good.
You know, I don't mind FSR performance at 1080p, but performance at 720 on a larger display definitely looks pretty bad. Luckily, we've got this smaller 7-inch display, and it looks great here. Next up, but performance at 720. Great like this, and you know, I don't mind FSR performance at 1080p, but performance at 720 on a larger display definitely looks pretty bad. Luckily, we've got this smaller 7-inch display, and it looks great here.
Okay.
Next up, we've got Horizon Zero Dawn, 1080p, FSR set to performance, and original settings. And original is basically just medium with this one. With the games I've been testing, I'm at 1080p, and I wanted to see how well it would do at 1080. But remember, we can always drop all of these games down to 720, use the same settings, and it will draw less power from the battery.
Okay.
Frame is another one I wanted to test, and I was really interested to see
120?
120 FPS. So we're at 1080p, low settings, And in performance mode, which is 15 to 20 watts, we're so close. I mean, we're
Now, even
right
Bradley's
on
trying to
the
get
edge
one
of just
now.
running this at a constant
Man,
120.
Bradley, don't tempt me.
Going a little
Oh,
automatic
don't tempt
edge,
me.
which is going up to turbo mode will allow us to do 120 with Warframe. The next game on the list is Red Dead Redemption 2. We're at 10.
They said it's dropping, what, June 13th? But you can pre-order. I'm not gonna pre-order. I'll tempt fate. If I check on June 13th and it's still in stock, then I'll cop. But I'm not gonna pre-order it.
1080p FSR set to performance, low settings, and we're in performance mode right now. And I'm getting an average of 44 FPS. So with a game like this,
I don't know how I really feel about these handheld PCs. I'll probably just get a laptop with a 1650 inside for a decent. I mean, look, gaming on laptops is great as well, but I haven't gamed on a laptop in ages because I have a Mac and my desktop is Windows, so I'll just game on the desktop. But for me, I think the handheld experience is definitely better, you know. But it depends. When I was still going to school and moving around more, the laptop made more sense. Now that I work from home, it's like I'd rather just game on the handheld, you know.
we will need to take it down to 720p in performance mode, or we can just up that wattage. And now, in turbo mode, we get an average of 64 FPS. Seeing Red Dead 2 run on a handheld like this is really...
Even Red Dead getting 60 FPS? I mean, low settings, but still. Red Dead hitting... This is a beast.
I also wanted to test Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and I like using the built-in benchmark. We're using recommended settings, but we're at 1080p, and this does take FSR to performance. And with it set up like this, in turbo mode on battery, we got an average of 97 FPS and a low of 65. So this game is more than playable on the ROG Ally.
Okay.
Now, obviously,
right,
with a lot of these 2D games or indie games, we won't need to be in turbo or performance mode. So I've set up a custom profile at 7 watts. I wanted to show you
Okay, 7
Shredder's
watts.
Revenge. It's sending a little under 6 watts to the APU, and in total, we're pulling under 13 watts total from the battery here. So we can expect around 3 hours and 15 minutes out of the battery. I'm sure games like this would run at less wattage. Plus, I've got the brightness on this set at 100%.
Okay.
I did want to test out this D-pad for you, and I mentioned that I'm not a huge
Street
fan
Fighter. Oh yeah, Bradley, you getting folded? Was it next week it drops? Yeah, you getting folded in that shit. The handheld market might go nuts to the next one. Oh, by 2030, the handheld market is gonna be beast mode. Like battery life gonna be up, power gonna be crazy. I think it's gonna peak before the PS6 drops because when there's a new console, they push the power a bit more. So while the consoles are getting dated, the handhelds are just gonna keep going and going and going. You know, so there's gonna be a peak right before the PS6 drops where the handhelds are just like doing crazy frames.
Just given that it's an unseparated D-pad, I'd much rather have kind of a traditional unit on this. But the
Hi Prem, have you tried New Zelda on an emulator? Are you asking me if I've pirated the latest Zelda game that's not out yet on an emulator for everyone to see? No, I would never do such a thing. I would never pirate Nintendo's hard work, you know, without paying for it and playing it on their hardware. I would never do such a thing.
The roll on it's really good for fighting games. Not the best on the market, but, you know, pulling off your favorite special moves and playing platform.
So there, you can get folded too if you want. Like, you know, all that talk. It's a free open beta, okay? So you can get folded too.
This is going to work out great. Definitely works a lot better than it looks. The final game I wanted to test here was The Last of Us Part 1, and if you've ever tried to run this on a handheld, you know how hard it can be. Right now we're at 720p, but I'm using RSR upscale to 1080. We're at low settings, and we can get over 60 FPS with this game.
Hey, we didn't say Smash. We said Street Fighter, okay? Play the man fighting game, not the platformer fighting game.
On a handheld.
Not the baby game. I'm joking, it's not a baby game. Before the Smash veterans come and yell at me.
We'll have a full emulation video coming up real soon, so keep an eye on the channel.
RPCS3A, 60 FPS.
I'm going to test out at least one here. We've got PS3 using RPCS3, Vulkan backend with Skate 3, which is a harder one to emulate. This loves extra cores and
man, imagine Unleashed at 120 on this.
threads, and on older Ryzen chips, we needed a lot of wattage to get this to run at full speed. But with Zen 4 now, 18 watts is kind of the sweet spot for a game like this. And yeah, you're going to be able to run your favorite Switch games with no issues on this at 1080p. So the handheld elephant in the room is going to be the Steam Deck. And I just want to get this out of the way. Steam Deck is one of my favorite handhelds that's ever been made. I've got 3 of them at the house. I use mine every single day. And the community behind the Steam Deck is absolutely amazing. They've done some really great stuff with what we have here. But you know, if both of these were sitting on the table, fully charged, ready to go, I would probably pick up the Ally over the Steam Deck now. We've got newer architecture on the CPU, Zen 4.
That's the thing about PC, man. It moves fast. Consoles, you get at least 5+ years of loving where it's the it thing, and then you move on to the next it thing. But PC, Steam Deck was like the favorite child last year, and now it's like, well, you know, there's a new kid on the block.
Versus Zen 2. Newer architecture on the GPU, RDNA 3 versus RDNA 2. Plus, I can access more of my games that I already own that work on Windows with the ROG Ally. And of course, we can install Windows on the Steam Deck if you want to. But one of the big things that a lot of people were stating they'd miss if they were to upgrade or just move over to the Ally are the trackpads. And for me, that's not a big deal because I hate trackpads, no matter what it's on. My laptop always has a mouse connected to it. I just don't like them, so I'm not going to be missing it. But
I know some people like that.
Preferences, and I will have a full comparison video coming up. I do want to run some benchmarks on both of them, battery life test and things like that, and just give you an overall comparison between the Ally and the Steam Deck. So that's another one that I've got in the works right now. But before I wrap this video up, I wanted to give you a look at what kind of battery life I got out of this so far. 100% screen brightness, 1080p video playback, 8 hours and 20 minutes. Not bad at all, but you know, I'm not going to watch 8 hours of video on this. So moving over to gaming, 8 watts, great for indie gaming, 2D games, 3 hours and 7 minutes. 15 watts netted me 1 hour and 43 minutes. And finally, 25 watts, 1 hour and 4 minutes.
Okay.
So far, I'm really liking it.
So basically, either get a power bank or live by the charger. Because the most you're getting is 3 hours, and that's on some indie shit. That's on some Celeste type shit.
Asus ROG Ally. Built-in controls are spot on. Beautiful screen here. Love that we have that adaptive sync or free sync here. Awesome weight, and it just does feel really good in the hands. Now, there's a lot more that I want to do with this, and I will have more videos on the way. Got a full emulation video coming. We want to do dock mode, a Steam Deck.
You just want to plug and play. All they need to do is bring mod support to console and be Gucci. Well, I mean, if you want plug and play, then you're not going to get it with the customization levels of PC. Because they don't go hand in hand, right? If you want to be on the Apple lifestyle, you have to deal with the Apple ecosystem. If you want the freedom, you got to venture into the territory of tinkering. That's just how it is.
That comparison, so keep an eye on the channel. And like I mentioned, the official price on this is $6.99. You can pre-order it right now over on Best Buy. I'll leave a link in the description. And you can have one in your hands June 13th. It's going to launch worldwide June 13th. So, you know, if you're interested in picking one up, definitely check out that pre-order. But that's going to wrap it up for my first look video at the Asus ROG Ally. If you end up getting one, you won't be disappointed. This is an amazing little handheld. And there is a lot more that we can do with this. There's more optimizations to be had.
Yeah, I mean, they're tempting your boy. They tempting your boy. But I just know that there's gonna be another one. I know that there's gonna be another handheld that's gonna do something better. I have to control myself. I don't know. I feel like I gotta control myself. I don't even really like the design of this on the outside. Like, the circular D-pad, I don't like. The weird bezel shape, I don't like. But you can't deny the performance, right? You can't. But if I wait like 6 months, I guarantee you there's going to be something else that uses the same hardware that has a nicer design. But you'll be able to make a video review. Man, I don't make that kind of money like that on videos to justify that. I mean, I got 3K on the other one, but I bought that because I wanted it. I just think I should be saving my money. I think I need to stack because... Did my Elgato light just go off? What the fuck? What is happening, Elgato? still want a PS5 for Game of the Year 2023. You talk about Spider-Man 2? Oh yeah, you don't have a PS5. Is Spider-Man 2 PS5 exclusive? Is that coming to PS4? Don't you already have a Steam Deck? Do you really need the Steam Deck? What? You're missing my point. The whole point I was trying to make was that the space is moving so fast that if I buy this, it'll be obsolete in like 6 months. The Steam Deck has become obsolete. That's the whole point. Like, that was the whole point I was trying to make. Like, where's the chart? Where's the chart? Let me see if I can find the chart. Look at the chart. Okay. This is the Switch. 0.39 teraflop. Steam Deck 1.6 teraflop. ROG Ally 2.8 on the base model. On the Extreme 3.9. The Steam Deck is 1.6. Their shit's going up to 3.9. Like, this is what I mean. Like, in a year from now, where's it gonna be? And then you're gonna spend money on this, and then it's like some pussy shit by next year. You know? So you gotta be careful with what you get. I might just have to ride out with the GPD Win 4 for a year. I gotta limit myself to like one handheld a year max. Well, unless the Switch 2 drops, then, you know, then we copping, obviously. But yeah. Solid looking handheld. Oh yeah, subscribe to the Clips channel. I don't have any subscriber goals on that, but we already hit 1K. But yeah, subscribe to the Clips channel. But yeah, solid looking handheld. I haven't decided yet because that D-pad is making me apprehensive. I feel like any 2D shit I want to play on that's gonna be an issue. You know. Just wait unless you want to have a collection of these things. I mean, I don't mind having a collection, but you know, I mean, I got like 1 million DSs, so you know, it's my DSi XL. I love handhelds, man. I love handhelds. Ugh. But yeah, I think that's about it. The space is moving really well. Look forward to seeing what's next. We'll see if I get tempted or not. We'll find out later on. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. And actually, quick question. If I stream Breath of the Wild when everyone's streaming Tears of the Kingdom, will you still watch? Or is it just like pointless? It's not Tears of the Kingdom. I can't bother to watch this shit. Word on the Street is a PlayStation showcase will be on 25th. Oh yeah, I heard some leaks about that. Yeah, we'll check that out. If you wait a week, sure. I don't care about Zod. Well, we'll see then. We'll see. Maybe I'll watch The Clown. Well, can always count on that, right? Anyway, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. More content coming soon to the channel. This is your boy, PREMulous, Rem Gang. And I'm out.